Chapter 71. You've caught a cold. Come Gigai, take the medicine. Bailey Yun poured some water and handed the pill to her. Xia Dong frowned and swallowed the pill. She drank a few mouthfuls of water and returned the cup to him. Looking at his tired face, she felt touched and warm. Fox, did you take care of me for the whole night again? Who asked me to be your friend? If I don't take care of you, who will? Bai Liyun couldn't stand it when she looked at him with her wet eyes. He really wanted to pull her into his embrace. He reached out his large palm and rubbed her messy hair. You rascal, why are you trying to be brave? Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Xia Dong smiled. I'm sorry. I didn't know I would be so unlucky. I actually poked a hornet's nest. In the end, I was chased by the hornet and accidentally rolled down the hill. You actually poked a hornet's nest? Bailey Yun didn't know whether to be angry or amused. The corner of his mouth twitched for a long time. In the end he sighed. Liking her was destined to be a mess. He should have accepted his fate a long time ago, shouldn't he? At 8 o'clock in the morning, Dr. Li came over for a checkup. Your fever has gone down. Take the medicine for 2 more days and you'll be as good as new. Miss Xia, you have to avoid spicy food for the next few days. Otherwise there will be scars on your face. I'll be careful. Thank you, Dr. Li. You're welcome, Miss Xia. Second young master is a very competent boyfriend. You have to cherish him. When Dr. Li said this, Xiao Tianxing and a large group of people came to visit Xia Dong. Everyone looked at the two of them ambiguously, as if they had done something shameful. Xiao Tianxing supported his chin with his right hand and coughed. There was a suppressed smile in his voice. Xia Dong, Ayun took care of you for the whole night. His feelings for you can be seen by heaven and earth. Xia Dong was slightly embarrassed. Go away, what are you doing here? Bailey Yun punched him angrily. Su Yinchen smiled. Miss Xia, when you were injured we were all very worried. Fortunately you are fine. Thank you for your concern, everyone. I'm fine now. I'm sorry if I've disturbed everyone's mood. Xia Dong politely looked at the crowd one by one. She found that Bailey Han was not among them. That was good, she did not have to face him. Xiao Tianxing raised his eyebrows. Why are you being so polite? Just stay here and recuperate. When you recover, I want to have a competition with you. I want to see how good your writing skills are. I accept your challenge. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely compete with you. After all, Xia Dong had just woken up. After saying a few words, she showed signs of fatigue. Everyone could see that, so they all bid her farewell and let her have a good rest. Xia Dong said to Bailey Yun, because of me you haven't rested for the whole night. You must be very tired. I have servants here to take care of you. Go back to your room and rest first. Bailey Yun nodded and pulled the blanket over her. He instructed the servant, don't forget to give Miss Xia her medicine on time. Got it, second young master. After Bailey Yun left, Xia Dong said that she was hungry and wanted to eat porridge. She sent the servant away and then called home. She was afraid that the children would be worried, so she only said that she had caught a cold. She cheered up and said a few words to them. When she heard the servant knocking on the door, she hung up. On Sunday afternoon, the guests left one after another because they had to work the next day. Bailey Han and Su Yinchen also left. From the beginning to the end, Bailey Han did not look at her again. Xiao Tianxing was a hands-off boss, so he had no pressure at work. He tried his best to persuade Xia Dong to stay at the ranch to recuperate, but Xia Dong did not want to disturb him anymore. Moreover, she did not want the children to worry, so she went home under the escort of Bailey Yun. Bailey Yun insisted on sending her to the door. He stayed in the living room of her house and instantly turned into an old mother. He nagged her a lot about what she should eat and what she should not eat. Fortunately, most of the swelling on her face had disappeared, so Xia Dong did not cause a large-scale panic when she got home. However, she was still bombarded by Xia Xiaobao and Xiao Guai. Mommy, what's with the wound on your face? Who was that handsome uncle just now? Is he your boyfriend? Mom, tell me the truth. You didn't come home at night for the past 2 days, and you even made your head look like a pig's head. What happened? Xia Dong pinched the two little buns' faces. Mommy is fine. I was just kissed by 2 wasps, Xia Xiao Guai, oh. So the wasp's kiss was so scary. Xia Xiaobao, oh Mom, you idiot. Xia Xiaobao was deeply ashamed of having such a careless mother. He wiggled his little butt and went back to his room. After rummaging for a long time, he wiggled his little butt and came out again. He stuffed an ointment into Xia Dong's hand and raised his chin coolly. This ointment, apply it externally 3 times a day. It won't leave any scars. I don't tell ordinary people. Xia Dong was instantly embarrassed. She took the ointment and saw that it was written in Japanese. Son, where did you get this ointment? I stole it from Uncle Shen. She knew it. No matter what, the ointment was quite effective. When she got up the next morning, the redness and swelling on her face had miraculously disappeared. Her pig-headed face was as beautiful as before. She had taken the entire morning off to go to the hospital for a pregnancy test. She wondered if that thrilling experience had affected the child. This was the first time she had done a pregnancy test since she was pregnant. Lying on the hospital bed, she felt a little complicated. Doctor, how is my child? Is it healthy? The doctor pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose. Miss Xia, you're not pregnant. What? Xia Dong was so agitated that she jumped up from the hospital bed. That's impossible. I used the pregnancy test kit and it showed that I'm pregnant. Doctor, please take a closer look. The doctor sighed. Miss Xia, I've already checked very carefully. You're really not pregnant. As for the pregnancy test kit, it might have expired, so it's not accurate. Then it's already been more than a month. My period hasn't come yet and I've already started vomiting. How do you explain that? That's just a psychological effect. You really want a child, so your psychological desire has played a role in hinting at your body, showing the symptoms of a fake pregnancy. Xia Dong didn't know how she walked out of the hospital. The doctor's words echoed in her mind over and over again. She wasn't pregnant, she wasn't pregnant. She wanted to laugh out loud. God, you're too good at making fun of people. Why wasn't she pregnant even though she had worked so hard? If she wasn't pregnant, what would happen to her Xiao Guai? Xia Dong grabbed her hair in frustration. What was more frightening was that she thought she was pregnant and purposely did things to make Bailey Han feel disgusted. She deliberately drew a line between them. Now that she knew she wasn't pregnant, she wanted to get close to him again. Based on how disgusted he was with her, was it still possible? Xia Dong sat on the bench in the garden in a daze. She didn't even notice that her phone was ringing. It wasn't until a passerby beside her reminded her that she picked up the phone dejectedly. Hello. Xia Xia. A man's deep and magnetic voice came from the phone. Are you unhappy? Hearing the familiar voice, Xia Dong's nose couldn't help but feel sour. She tried hard to suppress the urge to cry and gently moved the corners of her mouth. Brother Shin. Mika Kito's voice softened. Xia Xia, tell me, did something happen? Xia Dong pinched her palms with her fingers and slowly exhaled. She tried hard to make her voice sound normal. No, Brother Shin. I'm fine. The children are fine too. On the other end of the phone, Mika Kito frowned. He could tell that Xia Xia was in low spirits. However, since she didn't want to admit it, he didn't want to force her. After a pause, he said gently, Xia Xia, I could have flown to China to accompany you this week, but something happened with your grandfather. He asked me to go over and deal with it. It might take half a month. Xia Dong had calmed down and said with concern, Is Godfather okay? Is it serious? Mika Kito comforted her. Grandpa is fine. It's one of his subordinates who got into trouble. It seems that another family is targeting him. I'll have to go over and investigate to know the details. Xia Dong was still very worried. Brother Shin, I know that you and Godfather are very powerful, but please take care of yourselves. Don't make me and the babies worry, okay? Don't worry. We'll be fine. Xia Xia, I miss you and the babies very much. Mika Kito's voice was low and mellow like fine wine with a hint of drunkenness. Xia Dong listened to his soothing voice and seemed to be intoxicated by the gentle wind. Her worries gradually dissipated. Her bright eyes curved into beautiful crescents and the corners of her lips curled up. She said softly, Brother Shin, I miss you too. Xia Dong could not see that Mika Kito, who was far away in Japan, had a gentle smile on his face because of her words. His slender fingers stroked Xia Dong's photo and he chuckled softly. Xia Xia, wait for me. I'll come to China to accompany you in half a month. Okay. You have to protect yourself. Don't let yourself get hurt. Also, no matter how busy you are, you can't forget to eat, and you can't drink. You know that your stomach is not well, but you still like to drink. You men are so annoying. Xia Dong nagged at Mika Kito. The smile on his face grew brighter and brighter, scaring the hell out of his subordinate who came in to call him for a meeting. I've said so much. Do you remember it all? Xia Dong's mouth was dry from talking. She was very dissatisfied when she realized that the person on the other end of the phone only gave a perfunctory, okay. I'm listening very attentively. Mika Kito's voice was full of laughter. If I said that all my attention was on your voice, but I didn't remember a single word of what you said, would you repeat it? Brother Shen. Xia Dong called his name angrily. Mika Keto could almost imagine how cute Xia Dong's delicate face would be when she was angry. He could not help but laugh out loud. Xia Dong was speechless at this careless man. She said angrily, "Brother Shin, if you continue to be so perfunctory and let your guard down, I'll make you recite everything I said." Mika Keto held back his laughter. "I won't tease you anymore. I've remembered everything." "Really?" Xia Dong could not help but laugh. "Okay, that's good. You must be very busy. I heard Takeda knocking on the door to call you for a meeting. Hurry up and go to the meeting. Although you're the boss, you can't let them wait for too long." "Okay. Take care." When Beiteng Shin hung up the phone, there was still a smile on his face. When he raised his head to look at Ueda, who was waiting at the door, his expression had turned cold. It was as if the smiling man just now was just Ueda's imagination. "Come and see." Hongcha 866. Chapter 72. Xia Dong hung up the phone and began to think about her next move. Mika Keto would arrive in China in half a month. If he found out that she wanted to use his seed or steal it to save Xiao Guai, he would definitely not agree. So, Xia Dong had better deal with Bailey Han before he came to China. But how could she deal with him? Xia Dong wanted to bang her head against the wall. The evils she brought upon herself were the hardest to bear. How could she have been so ruthless in the past? Bailey Han must have completely abandoned her. When they were at the ranch, he did not even look at her. Even when she was injured, he did not say a word. After thinking about it for a long time, she could only come to one conclusion. She had to be thick-skinned. The first thick-skinned tactic was to pester him. Scene 1, "Hello, who is this?" "Mr. Bailey, hello, I am Xia Dong." Beep 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 beep. Scene 2, Xia Dong sent the latest issue of the magazine to Bailey Han. Inside the box, she even put a handmade card to express her gratitude to him as a business partner. In the end, Bailey Han's secretary called her. "Miss Xia, the president asked you to send the sample magazine to the advertising department in the future. He also asked you to stop sending him strange things." Xia Dong fell to the ground. Scene 3, Xia Dong found out from Bailey Yun that Bailey Han was having a gathering with a few old friends at Charm Bar. So, she dressed up so seductively that she almost could not recognize herself after changing her appearance. She purposely walked around Charm Bar in an attempt to attract his attention. When she finally saw him alone, she quickly went up to him and winked seductively. "Handsome, are you interested in having a drink with me?" However, he pushed her away and looked at her with disdain. "You're too dirty. I'm not interested." Xia Dong's face was covered in blood. Xia Dong had been defeated repeatedly. She had long been thick-skinned. As long as there was a collaboration with Shenghao Group, she would dress up beautifully. From time to time, she would appear in front of Bailey Han and create a lot of coincidental encounters. However, he did not even look at her. Just like that, a week passed. Xia Dong felt deeply defeated. He curled up on the sofa at home and licked his wounds. Xia Xiaoguai's soft little body leaned over. "Mommy, what's wrong? You don't look happy." Xia Dong rubbed her daughter's soft hair. "Mommy is fine. I'm just a little tired." Xia Xiaobao's beautiful black eyes flashed. He had long noticed that his mother was a little strange recently. From time to time, she would dress up beautifully and go out in high spirits. However, she would come back dejectedly. He had secretly followed her a few times and discovered her secret. However, his mother was unwilling to tell him, so he could only pretend not to know. He touched his little chin and his bright eyes turned. He said crisply, "Mom, I heard that Bailey Han likes to explore and climb mountains." Xia Dong was stunned. Bailey Han liked to explore and climb mountains? Wait a minute. If he really liked it, then wouldn't she have more opportunities to get close to him? Her eyes lit up and she snorted on her son's head. "Son, where did you hear that? Why don't I know about it?" Xia Xiaobao puffed up his cheeks and his eyes flashed. "Of course I heard it from Bailey Yi." "Really?" She was a little doubtful. "Aren't you and Bailey Yi sworn enemies?" He put his hands behind his back and raised his little chin arrogantly. "That's why I have to get to know him better. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated." Xia Dong slapped her forehead. Why was she so stupid? If she wanted to get close to Bailey Han, she had to understand his preferences and cater to his interests. Thus, the second tactic of being thick-skinned began: cater to his interests. Xia Dong found a private detective and asked them to help investigate Bailey Han's preferences. The next day, the private detective cried and said that he could not continue the investigation because his men were kidnapped and beaten up by several mysterious people during the investigation. They cried and said that Bailey's family was too powerful and they could not afford to offend them. Xiaodong had no choice but to ask Bailey Yun. Bailey Yun asked suspiciously, Xia, you've been asking a lot about my brother recently. Are you interested in him? Xiaodong laughed dryly. How can that be? Our magazine is cooperating with Shenghao Group. The magazine is planning to hold an event and invite all partners to attend. We have to understand the partners in advance. I'm doing this for work. Bailey Yun did not believe her. Do you still need to understand their interests and preferences? Xiaodong pretended to be unhappy and turned her head. It's fine if you don't want to help me. Why are you saying so much? Bailey Yun smiled bitterly. When did I say that I won't help you? I'm just worried. Xiaodong looked serious. Do you think it's possible between Bailey Han and me? I've never thought of having feelings for him. Bailey Yun raised his hand in surrender and poked her arm with his elbow. Okay. I believe you. Don't be angry. I'll tell you everything. Xiaodong snorted and deliberately pretended to be pretentious. But I don't want to hear it anymore. Don't. I really want to confide in you. Can you be kind and listen to me about my brother's interests and hobbies? Bailey Yun leaned in front of her and looked at her pitifully with his long and narrow foxy eyes. Xiaodong held back his laughter. All right then. Since you're so enthusiastic, I'll reluctantly listen to you. Bailey Yun's eyes were full of smiles. He touched his delicate chin and said, Don't be fooled by my brother's cold and aloof appearance. He is a sports expert. Racing and riding are child's play to him. Xiaodong leaned on the armrest of the sofa and asked tentatively, Since he likes sports so much, does he also like to climb mountains and explore things? Bailey Yun rubbed her soft hair. You're right. I heard that when he was 16 he lived alone on a deserted island with a backpack for a month. My grandmother and aunt were almost scared to death. Xiaodong frowned. An adventure on a deserted island? It was too difficult to carry out. I heard that he's become interested in plants again recently. Bailey Yun's lips curved into a sarcastic smile. Grandma and Grandpa have always been proud of him. He's really good. He's been my role model since I was young. Xiaodong keenly sensed the loneliness in his tone. She secretly held his hand. Fox, you're very good too. Bailey Yun was stunned. Then the corners of his eyes curved and he smiled. This was the first time that someone praised Bailey Han while seeing his excellence. Suddenly, Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows and mischievously dragged Xiaodong, who was completely unprepared, to the ground. The two of them rolled around on the soft and thick carpet. Fox, you. Before Xiaodong could finish speaking, Bailey Yun had already pulled her into his arms. He rubbed his chin against her soft hair and said with a smile, Xia, you really make me happy. Your hand. Xiaodong gritted her teeth. Bailey Yun lowered his head and found that his large hand had precisely pressed against a certain someone's chest. Ahem, it was a habit. Xiaodong was very angry. She had forgotten that someone was a perverted fox. Bailey Yun calmly withdrew his hand and flipped his messy blonde hair. There was a confused expression on his handsome face. What just happened? Xiaodong wanted to pounce on him and bite him to death. Forget it, I'll just kill him with my eyes. Under her extremely lethal gaze, Bailey Yun was defeated. He coughed and generously opened his arms. What happened just now was purely an accident. Why don't you touch me back? Get lost. Bailey Yun brushed the hair in front of his forehead and smiled frivolously. You're the one who didn't want it. Don't regret it, there are so many people lining up to touch it. I didn't even give them a chance. Xiaodong was speechless. Although Xiaodong was very angry that her chest had been attacked, she had gained a lot of useful information. When she found out that Bailey Han had been interested in plants recently, she didn't sleep in the middle of the night and searched for a lot of information. She came up with a detailed plan to steal the seeds. The next day, Bailey Han received an email from a geographical magazine. It said that an extremely rare orchid had been found in a forest. The email even included photos of the orchid and the scenery of the forest. It just so happened that he didn't have any plans for the weekend. Bailey Han was also very interested in orchids, so he decided to go to the forest to investigate. The photos in the email were actually downloaded by Xiaodong from the internet. She had already drafted the content of the email and asked a friend to help her send it to Bailey Han. Early on Saturday morning, Xiaodong prepared a series of supplies and waited on the road that Bailey Han had to pass. Bailey Han drove out of the city and into the suburbs. After driving for more than half an hour, he saw a white BMW parked on the side of the road in front of him. He didn't pay it any attention and continued to drive leisurely. Unexpectedly, A figure suddenly came out from under the BMW and rushed to the middle of the road with both hands raised. Stop the car, stop the car. Bailey Han slammed on the brakes. Screech, the car stopped 2 steps away from Xiaodong. You don't want to live anymore. Bailey Han jumped out of the car with an ashen face and strode in front of her. You wanted to strangle this idiot. Do you know how dangerous it is to suddenly rush off the road? Xiaodong seemed to be scared out of her wits. Her face was pale and she stuttered, I didn't do it on purpose. Bailey Han's sharp eyes swept over her and he looked very impatient. What's the matter? Xiaodong shrank her neck and pointed at her BMW. My car broke down and I want to find someone to help. Bailey Han frowned and his whole body emitted a cold aura. Why are you in this wilderness? Xiaodong was unconvinced. Aren't you here too? Why can't I be here? He sneered. Since you don't want to say, then stay here with your car and wait for the next person to pass by. Don't. Xiaodong hurriedly pulled him back and said hurriedly, I'm on vacation at Wuxia Mountain. Wuxia Mountain was also Bailey Han's destination. He narrowed his eyes and looked at her face that had been exposed to the sun. It was red and sweaty. He said sarcastically, another coincidence? Xiaodong looked surprised. You're going to Wuxia Mountain too? Can you give me a ride? He brushed her hand away. Stop acting. I won't believe you again. He didn't look at her and turned to leave. Xiaodong bit her lip. Bailey Han, stop right there. Bailey Han acted as if he didn't hear her and opened the car door. Xiaodong made up her mind and pounced forward, hugging the car door tightly. Her eyes were filled with grief and helplessness, like a puppy that had been abandoned by its owner. Her eyes were watery and pitiful. Bailey Han, I'm begging you. Can you take me away? This is the wilderness. What if I meet some bad people? Bailey Han frowned and said coldly, let go. Xiaodong quickly grabbed his arm and pestered him endlessly. I won't let go, I won't let go. Bailey Han, you're not even willing to save a woman when she's in danger. Are you still a man? Beauty novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 73. The veins on Bailey Han's forehead began to throb. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words. Aren't you fine now? I'm fine now, but after you leave, I might meet a psychopathic murderer or a serial killer. I might even meet a beast that comes down the mountain to hunt for food. Xiaodong grabbed his arm and refused to let go. You're thinking too much. Bailey Han tried hard to suppress the urge to throw her away, his temples throbbing. Boo-hoo. Bailey Han, I beg you don't leave me, okay? I'm so scared. Seeing that the first move didn't work, Xiaodong changed to another one. She pinched his butt hard and tears fell from her big wet eyes. Her butterfly wing-like eyelashes trembled slightly. She bit her red lips and her tear-stained face seemed to be telling him how cruel he was. He knew that she was acting, but his heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Damn it, this woman could always easily control his emotions. Bailey Han angrily punched the steering wheel, his deep voice mixed with anger. Get in the car. Xiaodong smiled through her tears and flattered, I knew that you wouldn't leave me behind. Bailey Han, you're really a good person. Bailey Han snorted and ignored her. She didn't mind at all and showed a bright smile. She cheerfully opened the car door and sat beside him, chattering about her tragic experience. Yesterday, I received an email from the Geographic magazine saying that they found a precious orchid in Wuxia Mountain, so I wanted to explore the treasure. I didn't expect the car to break down here. I called the towing company, but they said that it would take more than an hour to get here. Bailey Han's face was fierce and he didn't say a word. She seemed to have thought of something and said with a smile, but don't worry, I won't make you wait with me for an hour. I've already talked to them and they'll tow my car away directly. Bailey Han still ignored her. The corners of his lips were tightly pressed together as he started the car. Xiaodong knew that he was still angry, so she tactfully shut her mouth. The air pressure in the car was low. The car drove very fast. After driving for nearly 2 hours, they finally arrived at their destination. Wuxia Mountain was a tourist area. It had one main peak and 2 side peaks. The main peak was well developed for tourism, while the 2 side peaks did not have large-scale tourism. They maintained a relatively primitive state. Only a few backpackers and explorers went there. Bailey Han chose one of the side peaks and parked the car in the parking lot at the foot of the mountain. He looked at Xiaodong expressionlessly. Go to the main peak from here by yourself. Xiaodong shrugged. There are so many tourists on the main peak. It's crowded and noisy. I'm sure I won't be able to find any orchids. I'll go to the side peak too. Bailey Han said coldly, don't drag me down. She grinned. Don't look down on me. I'm not that incompetent. He raised his eyebrows and did not say anything else. He took out his backpack from the trunk and led the way into the mountain. Xia Dong hurriedly took out her backpack from the back seat and followed him. Orchids usually grew on the walls of deep mountains and deep valleys. They were places where people rarely went. Bailey Han was obviously very familiar with the growing habits of orchids. He purposely chose secluded paths. Actually, he still had a dark thought in his heart. He wanted to force Xia Dong to give up on his own accord and stop following him. However, during the more than an hour of climbing, Xia Dong did not even make a sound. She gritted her teeth and followed behind him. Her beautiful cheeks were red and her forehead was covered with sweat. The huge backpack on her back seemed to be about to crush her, but she did not complain about being tired. Bailey Han looked back and saw her like this. He could not help but slow down and handed her a bottle of water with a sullen face. "Thank you." She took the bottle of water and smiled brightly. She was more charming than a spring flower, but her cheeks were abnormally red. Bailey Han could not help but look even worse. Soon it was evening. Bailey Han chose a flat lawn, took out a tent from his backpack and set it up quickly. Xia Dong's ability to do things was much worse. After fiddling for a long time, the tent was still a ball of cloth. Bailey Han frowned and took the tools from her hand. "Thank you." She scratched her hair and volunteered. "I'll start the fire and prepare dinner." She gathered some dry wood and started the fire. She took out 5 to 6 food boxes from her backpack and a tablecloth. She spread the food boxes on the grass, opened them and put them on the tablecloth. There were drumsticks, lamb chops, beef steak, pork chop, chicken fillet and fruit and vegetable salad. "I made these myself. Try them." She eagerly handed him a pair of sanitary chopsticks. Bailey Han picked up the chopsticks and put a piece of chicken fillet into his mouth. "How is it?" She looked at him with sparkling eyes full of expectation. He hesitated for a moment. "It's not bad. It was actually very delicious." She smiled brightly. "That's good. Wait a moment. I also brought sour pear soup." She searched in her backpack for a long time and took out a thermos flask. She poured a full cup and carefully put it in front of him. She smiled brightly. "It's sour. It's cooling and appetizing. Drink more." Her smile was so warm that it made Bailey Han feel a little nervous. He hesitated for a moment and took the cup. She looked at him expectantly and shouted in her heart, "Drink it, drink it." She had added something to the sour pear soup. Bailey Han brought the cup of water to his lips. Just as he was about to drink it, he heard a huff and puff, accompanied by the sound of running at high speed. He raised his head abruptly and saw a black wild boar dashing towards them at high speed. He jumped up from the ground reflexively and threw away the cup in his hand. He grabbed Xia Dong's wrist and retreated. Xia Dong was anxious to protect the thermos flask. She reached out to grab it, but Bailey Han pulled her over and scolded her loudly, "Why are you still caring about that? Hurry up and leave." The moment he pulled her away, the wild boar crazily rushed to where they were sitting and trampled the food all over the place. Xia Dong looked at the thermos flask with pain. The bastard wild boar was still using its long mouth to dig into the sour pear soup, making slurping sounds as it drank. "You bastard, I'm going to kill you." Xia Dong was filled with grief and indignation. She picked up a wooden stick as thick as her wrist and rushed forward to beat the boar's head. The boar's eyes were red with anger and it struggled with her. Bailey Han was stunned by her sudden outburst. When he came back to his senses, the wild boar was already rolling on the ground and howling. "I'll beat you to death, bastard. How dare you steal my food and drink?" Xia Dong picked up the wooden stick and scolded it as she hit it. Sop sop. She had planned this with great difficulty. She had added something to the sour pear soup. It was all drunk by this pig head. Ow ow ow. The wild boar was in pain from the beating. It struggled to roll up from the ground and fiercely charged towards Xia Dong. "Be careful." Bailey Han suddenly rushed up and hugged Xia Dong as they quickly dodged the wild boar's attack. He quickly pulled out a dagger from between his legs and when the wild boar rushed up again, he fiercely stabbed it into its neck. Blood suddenly flew out and splattered all over Xia Dong's face and body. With one stab, the wild boar fell to the ground with a bang and could not move. Xia Dong's heart was beating rapidly. She trembled as she wiped the blood from her face. Her eyes rolled back and she fell into Bailey Han's arms. "Hey, what are you playing at now?" Bailey Han shook her body. It was soft and there was no reaction. This time he became anxious. She had really fainted. With a sigh, he accepted his fate and carried her into his tent. He put her on the bed, wet a towel with mineral water, and wiped the blood off her face. His fingers carelessly slid across her cheeks, and he couldn't help but think of what happened on the deserted island a month ago. His lips curled into a helpless arc. It was as if she was his nemesis, and as long as he was with her, bad luck would happen. Xia Dong's body temperature was abnormally high. Her face was red and her lips were chapped. Bailey Han guessed that she had a heat stroke. He took out the medicine bottle he had brought with him and poured some water for her to take the medicine. After calling her for more than 10 minutes, she finally opened her eyes in a daze. "You have a heat stroke. Take the medicine." Bailey Han placed a pillow behind her. "Since you're not feeling well, why didn't you say so earlier?" She took the medicine in a daze. Her eyes were still a little dazed, as if she did not understand what he was saying. Bailey Han sighed and brushed the messy hair on her face behind her ear. "Take this medicine every 3 hours. You should rest first. I'll call you later." With his help, she lay down again. Only then did she sober up a little. Her eyes were watery as she said softly, "I'm sorry. I was afraid that you would say that I'm a burden to you and leave me alone. In the end, I'm still a burden to you." Her eyes were pitiful and filled with pleading and hope. He could not help but pinch the space between his eyebrows. "Rest first. Don't think about anything else." She replied with a gigai, "Oh," and closed her eyes. Bailey Han sat beside her and pulled the blanket for her. He leaned against the tent and did not know how much time had passed. His eyelids were heavy and he almost fell asleep. He pinched the back of his hand to wake himself up. He checked the time on the alarm and then leaned against the tent to doze off. Ah, a shrill scream. Bailey Han was so shocked that he was no longer sleepy. "What's wrong?" "Wild boars. There are so many wild boars. They want to kill me." Xia Dong threw herself into Bailey Han's arms. Her whole body was trembling. She was weak and frightened. Bailey Han wanted to push her away, but when he saw her panic-stricken face, he stretched out his hand and slowly placed it on her head. He gently stroked her hair. "Don't be afraid. I've already killed it. Even if there are 10 or 100 more, I'll still kill them all." There was no reply. It turned out that she had fallen asleep again. Bailey Han gently helped her lie down. He touched her forehead and found that it was still a little hot. "Xia Dong, do you want some water?" Xia Dong impatiently turned over and slept soundly. There was space on the bed. Bailey Han simply sat beside her and leaned against her to rest. Just as he was about to fall asleep, Xia Dong suddenly sat up beside him and screamed, "They're coming again. There are so many wild boars." "Xia Dong, wake up." Bailey Han grabbed her arm to prevent her from falling. "Sob, sob, it's so scary." Xia Dong suddenly threw herself into his arms and sobbed. Bailey Han frowned and lowered his head to look at her. Her eyes were tightly shut and there were still tears on her cheeks. Her breathing was a little rapid and she looked like she was in pain. He touched her head. So it was a nightmare. He wanted to help her lie down, but she hugged him too tightly and he couldn't pull her away. "Forget it. Just lie down like this." She hugged him like this and fell asleep again. He also fell asleep very quickly until the sound of the alarm woke him up. Bailey Han looked at Xia Dong. She hadn't woken up yet. He gently shook her awake and fed her the medicine. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 74. That night, Bailey Han fed her medicine twice. When she woke up in the morning, he checked her temperature and pulse and found that she had returned to normal. Xia Dong also woke up. She said in a hoarse voice, "I'm sorry for causing you trouble. You already apologized last night. If you get better quickly and can walk down the mountain on your own, that would be the best way to repay me." Bailey Han tried his best to be gentle, as if nothing had happened between them. He poured a glass of water for her. "You just recovered from your fever. Drink more water." "Thank you." Xia Dong held his hand and drank the water quickly. "Do you want more?" "No, thank you. Rest first." He put down the glass and turned to walk out of the tent. Xia Dong lay back on the bed. She didn't feel sleepy at all. She really had a heat stroke and fainted last night, but she had faked the nightmares. She suddenly felt a little guilty. She knew that Bailey Han took good care of her, and his attitude towards her had improved a lot. Everything was going according to her expectations. She pulled the blanket over her head and said very softly, "Bailey Han, I'm sorry." She didn't know how much time had passed when she heard footsteps coming in. She quickly closed her eyes and pretended to be asleep. Someone pulled away the blanket covering her head and a cold hand touched her forehead. Her eyelashes trembled. She heard Bailey Han's deep voice. "I know you're awake. Get up and eat something. She opened her eyes and saw Bailey Han sitting beside her with a lunchbox in his hand. She quickly sat up and he handed the lunchbox to her. The lunchbox was filled with fruit. There were sliced apples, pears, and red cherry tomatoes. The bright colors made her stomach growl. He coughed. The wild boar knocked everything over. I only found this. It's good enough to have these. Xia Dong picked up a cherry tomato and fed it to his mouth. She smiled contentedly. Here, thank you for saving my life. His lips curled into a smile as he opened his mouth. She placed the cherry tomato into his mouth. After breakfast they packed up the tent and luggage. Bailey Han looked at Xia Dong. How is it? Can you go down the mountain? Xia Dong grinned, revealing 8 little white teeth. She patted her chest. Hey, don't worry. I'm all better. I can go up the mountain to fight a tiger. There's no need to fight a tiger. Bailey Han smiled and responded to her joke for the first time. If we meet a wild boar again, I'm counting on you to save the beauty to save the hero. Thinking of her heroic act last night, Bailey Han's smile. She covered her face in shame. It was because I had a heat stroke yesterday that I didn't perform well. Otherwise, you wouldn't have saved my life. Bailey Han shook his head as a smile appeared in his eyes. The two walked down the mountain. Xia Dong was slightly apologetic. It's all because of me. You came here for nothing and didn't find the orchids. Bailey Han didn't care. I didn't have any hope. I just came out to relax. Xia Dong walked at the back and the corners of his lips curled up. Actually, Bailey Han wasn't that annoying. He had a good heart. She was distracted and didn't pay attention to her feet. She slipped and stumbled. Bailey Han heard the noise and quickly turned around to support her. He couldn't help but complain. Why are you so careless? She touched her nose embarrassedly. Sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. His mouth twitched. Be careful. After walking for more than 2 hours, they finally reached the bottom of the mountain. Xia Dong was so tired that she was panting. Bailey Han drove her to a restaurant in the tourist area as if nothing had happened. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they rested for a while. It was already 3 in the afternoon. As the car drove towards the city, Xia Dong was a little absent-minded. She kept thinking about how to make use of this rare opportunity. Finally, she realized that the opportunity had come. Through the car window, she saw a hotel standing on the side of the road. She covered her mouth and retched. Bailey Han stopped the car. What's wrong? Where do you feel uncomfortable? I feel like vomiting. Maybe I ate something wrong. Don't follow me. Xia Dong covered her mouth, opened the car door and ran out. She bent over and vomited exaggeratedly on the road. When she returned to the car, her face was pale. Bailey Han handed her a bottle of water to rinse her mouth. Hold on for another 2 hours. We'll be in the city soon. Xia Dong leaned against the seat weakly. I feel so uncomfortable. I can't hold on until we get back to the city. He frowned. Then what should we do? She raised her arm and pointed at the hotel not far away. I want to rest there. Please take me there. If you're in a hurry, you can go back to the city first. I can't take up any more of your time. I'll take a taxi back to the city myself. Bailey Han pinched the space between his eyebrows. It was already late. By the time she had rested enough, it would be almost evening. At that time, it would be difficult to take a taxi back to the city. He was not a philanthropist and did not have the kindness to sympathize with others. However, he still could not leave her here. Since he knew that she was trouble, he should not have taken her in from the beginning. He should not have abandoned her halfway. This was Bailey Han's principle. In the hotel, Bailey Han was wearing a bathrobe. His hair was wet as he leaned against the sofa and made a phone call. Xia Dong knocked on his door. What's the matter? She stood at the door with a tired look on her face. Can I borrow your bathroom? The shower in my room is broken. He nodded. Thank you. When Xia Dong passed by the table, she quietly put the thing in her hand into his glass of water. The white pill fell into the water and quickly turned into small bubbles and disappeared. The sound of water splashing came from the bathroom. The frosted glass door blurred her graceful figure. Bailey Han finished his phone call and saw this scene. His eyes darkened and he picked up the glass of water on the table and drank it in one gulp. The sound of water splashing continued. His body was getting hotter and hotter. His throat was dry and thirsty. He really wanted something to moisturize his throat. He poured another glass of water and drank it in one gulp. However, it was far from enough to relieve his hunger and thirst. The sound of water stopped and the bathroom door opened. Xia Dong walked out in a low-cut spaghetti strap dress. Her snow-white skin was slightly red from the steam like fine silk. She didn't wear any underwear. Her perfect breast stood proudly and her slender waist swayed slightly. Her beautiful features were charming as she walked in front of him. Her gaze inadvertently swept across the empty glass of water. Her lips curled into a faint smile. "You must not have rested well because you took care of me last night. I won't disturb your rest. Good night." She was only 2 steps away from him. He could clearly smell the fragrance of lavender on her body. That intoxicating fragrance was familiar, as if he had smelled it somewhere before. His body became hotter. Bailey Han's gaze became deep. His gaze involuntarily fell on her rosy lips. Her lips were very charming, like a plump rose. They must taste good. He subconsciously licked his parched lips. A certain desire rose in his body. It was as if there was a ball of fire burning in his lower abdomen, burning his entire body. This feeling was not unfamiliar. Damn it, he actually had a reaction to this woman. Bailey Han cursed in a low voice. He patted his head and rushed into the bathroom, trying to sober himself up with cold water. "Bailey Han, what's wrong with you?" Xia Dong knew that the aphrodisiac in the glass and the aphrodisiac on his body had taken effect. She deliberately followed him. When the cold water washed over his body, it did indeed feel a lot more comfortable. However, the burning desire in his body was not alleviated. His deep eyes turned a strange red because of lust and desire, giving his beautiful face a kind of wild charm. His handsome features were gloomy and cold. The cold water splashed on his broad chest, making him look extremely sexy. Xia Dong grabbed his arm. "Bailey Han, are you having a fever? It's so hot. Get out." When her cold hands landed on his skin, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. He tried to suppress the urge and growled at her, "Get out." "I'm not leaving. You're sick. How can I leave?" Xia Dong wrapped her arms around his waist. "Don't force yourself. I'll help you out. Go away." He wanted to shake her off, but she hugged him very tightly. Her body skillfully rubbed against his back. He could clearly feel her softness. He groaned in pain and his stiff body tensed up. All the blood in his body seemed to have gathered in his lower abdomen. Beads of sweat slid down his forehead, past his throbbing Adam's apple and across his muscular chest. Bailey Han felt as if his body was about to explode. He desperately wanted to release himself. "Bailey Han, I'm so hot. Let's go out." In the enclosed space, the atmosphere was getting more and more oppressive. Xia Dong's gentle voice teased Bailey Han's nerves. Her hands caressed his chest and muscles restlessly, and her lips wandered around his back. Her teasing was like lighting a match. The oppressive atmosphere was suddenly ignited. Bailey Han suddenly turned around and hugged her tightly. He kissed her cheeks frantically. He could no longer control his rationality. His Adam's apple moved up and down uncomfortably. The sweat on his forehead dripped onto her skin. There was only one thought in his mind. He wanted her. He wanted her so much that he was going crazy. Her thin clothes had been unknowingly thrown on the floor. Bailey Han suddenly picked her up and placed her on the sink. Their hot bodies were tightly pressed together. He lifted her chin with one hand and kissed her greedily. His other hand spread her legs. The scorching kiss followed her delicate collarbone and went down to her buds. He carefully ground and tasted them as if he had found a precious treasure. Xia Dong's body trembled violently. Her white jade-like feet tightened. A seductive whimper overflowed from her lips. Her hands involuntarily wrapped around his shoulders. Feeling that the person beneath him had melted into a puddle of spring water, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He couldn't wait any longer and charged straight in. It was so painful that Xia Dong's nails dug into his back, leaving bloody marks on his skin. The pain quickly passed and she felt waves of numbness. Her lips were sealed and all her moans were blocked. Her body and lower body collided fiercely with each other, and soon, it was as if fireworks had been set off in her mind, and she felt dizzy from the convulsions. However, Bailey Han didn't feel tired at all. He was still fiercely charging. The sink was made of marble and was very smooth. However, her legs were hanging and it was already uncomfortable. Especially when he used force, her body was forced to lean against the wall. Her back was in pain from the friction. "It hurts, my back hurts. Let's go back to the room." Oh. She frowned and bit his shoulder. Welfare Xingwu 799. Chapter 75. Bailey Han had vented once. Although he wasn't fully awake yet, when he heard those lingering pleas, he felt his heart being aroused and felt a sense of pity. He carried her down from the table. Their bodies were still pressed together as he carried her into the room. With every step he took, he went in deeper. After every few steps, he would fiercely thrust into her. Just as he reached the bedside, she had already bitten his neck to vent her desires. Bailey Han tossed and turned until dawn before he let her go to sleep. Before Xiaodong fell asleep, her last thought was that men who took aphrodisiacs were really scary. She could never use that kind of thing again. When Xiaodong woke up, she found herself naked in the arms of the equally naked Bailey Han. She could even feel something pressing against her waist. She was not an ignorant girl. Of course, she knew that it was a man's natural reaction in the morning. Her cheeks suddenly became hot. She was very glad that he was in a deep sleep and gave her another chance to escape. Xiaodong took a pillow and stuffed it into Bailey Han's arms to replace her. She quietly pulled out, dragged her sore body, cleaned up the battlefield, and escaped as fast as she could. Bailey Han closed his eyes and felt the softness in his arms. He touched it with his hand and suddenly sat up. He frowned and threw the pillow away. His eyes fell on the empty bed next to him. Although the bed was very clean, as if there had never been another person, he was very sure that he had slept with that woman last night. He angrily punched the bedside table in disgust. His endurance had always been amazing. Even when he had sex with Yun Chen several times, he could control himself at the last moment. He did not understand why he had fallen into the hands of Xiaodong. Countless thoughts flooded his mind. In the end, the three choices became clearer and clearer. 1. Kill her to prevent future trouble. 2. Be responsible for her. 3. Pretend that nothing had happened and continue to love Su Yunxian. When Bailey Han returned to the city, he did not go to the office. Instead, he went home, had a shower, changed his clothes and called Lu Zihao to deliver some documents to his home. She looked at the document in her hand, but the three choices lingered in her mind. She took a sip of tea in annoyance and searched for Xiaodong's number on her phone. He called her cell phone, but it was turned off. When he called her office, her assistant, Lilith, answered. The chief editor went to Milan to visit a fashion exhibition co-organized by famous fashion designers. Bailey Han pinched his eyebrows. When will she be back? Lilith looked at Xiaodong, who was sitting calmly in the office chair, and replied, About a week. Why does it take a week? Because after the exhibition in Milan, the chief editor still has to go to the fashion show in Paris. After that, she still has to go to London. Pa. Bailey Han angrily threw the phone away. When she heard the loud bang, Lilith was so frightened that she trembled. She carefully put the phone away. Chief editor, is this a good idea? If Bailey Han found out that they were lying through their teeth, they would die a horrible death. No, the entire magazine would be buried with them. Xiaodong was very calm. It's okay because I will immediately arrange for a business trip according to the route you mentioned. Bailey Han frowned. He was annoyed with his temper just now. After he calmed down, he realized that Lilith was probably just brushing him off. How could it be so coincidental that she would be on a business trip for such a long time? He paused for a moment and directly called the director of Glamour magazine. President Bailey, hello. Xiaodong is on a business trip? Why didn't I know about it? Oh no, I mean she is still at the office. Still at the office. Woman, you are dead meat. Bailey Han slowly hung up the phone. The corner of his lips raised into a sinister arc. After Xiaodong got the approval from the director, she heard him muttering curiously, Xiaodong, the president of Xinghao Group, just called and asked if you were on a business trip. Strange, how did he know that you were going abroad for a business trip? Xiaodong was suddenly petrified. She had a bad premonition. This premonition lasted until she got off work. When she walked out of the office building, she planned to go home as soon as possible and then escape abroad. She ran to the parking lot, and just as she took out her car keys, a Maybach stopped in front of her with a screech. Bailey Han got out of the car expressionlessly, lifted her up and threw her into the back seat without saying a word. Bailey Han, what are you doing? Before Xiaodong had time to get up from the back seat, the Maybach had already rushed out of the parking lot at the speed of a rocket. She pounced on the car window and was pushed back to the back seat by him. His handsome face was as cold as iron. His deep eyes were rolling with anger, but his voice was very calm. You better be honest with me. Otherwise, I don't mind throwing you to South America to feed the mermaids. Xiaodong knew that she had fallen into his hands. Even if she fought hard, she couldn't escape, so she calmed down. Where are you going to take me? A place where we can talk. He didn't look at her again. Obviously, he didn't want to talk to her anymore. Bailey Han took her to a high-end private clubhouse. He led her into a secluded suite that had a living room, a dining room, and a comfortable bedroom. Xiaodong sat on the sofa and he sat opposite her. Xiaodong waited for him to speak. After waiting for almost 10 minutes, the godfather still didn't speak. Xiaodong had nothing better to do. She poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of him. Then she poured another cup for herself. She coughed. If you have something to say, you can say it now. Bailey Han's face was still very ugly. His voice was still cold. Regarding what happened last night, I have 3 choices. 1. To kill you to prevent future trouble. He paused and looked at her meaningfully. She was shocked and secretly looked in the direction of the escape. What are the other 2 choices? 2. To be responsible for you. He gritted his teeth and was obviously very reluctant. 3. To pretend that nothing happened. She immediately raised her hand. I choose the 3rd choice. This choice coincides with my thoughts. Let's pretend that nothing happened. You go your way and I'll go mine. Bailey Han's face was even uglier. He thought that this woman had tricked him into bed so that she could marry him. He didn't expect her to say such words. When did he become so unattractive? Don't hesitate. Choose the 3rd choice. Don't worry, after I walk out of here, I'll forget everything that happened last night. I won't cause you any trouble. Xiaodong was so excited that her eyes were sparkling. She almost raised her hand and swore. Very well, it seems that we have reached a consensus. He leaned forward, his cold face carrying an undisguised murderous aura. His low voice was like that of a demon. Remember what you said at this moment. If you violate it in the slightest, I will tear you into pieces, including your 2 lovely nephews at home. You have to believe that I'm capable of doing what I say. He patted her cheek with his cold hand. After carefully wiping his fingers with a handkerchief, he threw the handkerchief into the bin. After he left, Xiaodong leaned against the sofa and breathed a sigh of relief. If he chose to kill her, she would definitely be buried here. In the following week, Xiaodong directly flew abroad for business. First, she went to Milan, then Paris. Because of the time difference, she always called her children in the middle of the night to say good morning. She didn't care about Bailey Han at all. Bailey Han suddenly felt that time had become very long. Although he was very busy with work, he would go home on time every day to eat with his son. Occasionally, he would accompany Su Yunxian to improve the relationship between her and his son. But at night, when he lay in bed to rest, he still felt that it wasn't fulfilling enough. He didn't know why. On this day, Bailey Han was drinking with a client at Charm. They had just signed a big order, and the client invited him to drink to celebrate their happy cooperation. Bailey Han saw Bailey Yun and Xiao Tianxing huddled together. He didn't know what they were talking about, but they were laughing and chatting. He said a few words to the client and walked over to Bailey Yun. He pulled out a chair and sat down. What are you talking about? You look so happy. I can hear your laughter from over there. Bailey Yun laughed heartily and raised his arm to greet him. Hi, brother. We were talking about Xia Xia. We said that she used to be very cute and liked to wrinkle her face like a bun. Bailey Han keenly sensed that something was wrong. You used to know each other a long time ago? Yes. Bai Liyun looked like he was already drunk. He laid lazily on the table, his pair of foxy eyes narrowed into a thin line. His magnetic voice was high up in the air. We've known each other since 5 years ago. It's not just me. You guys? Xiao Tianxing suddenly reached out to cover Bailey Yun's mouth and chuckled. Han, don't listen to his nonsense. He's drunk. Bailey Han frowned. Let him go. Let him finish. Xiao Tianxing secretly pinched Bailey Yun's waist. It hurt so much that Bailey Yun twitched twice. His foxy eyes suddenly opened, but half of the alcohol had disappeared. I told you to let him go. Xiao Tianxing reluctantly withdrew his hand and glared fiercely at Bailey Yun. The meaning of that look was very obvious. Don't talk nonsense. Bailey Yun blinked and didn't say a word. Bailey Han said, Yun, continue? Bailey Yun looked up at the ceiling and then at the bar counter. He suddenly reached out and wrapped his arm around Xiao Tianxing's neck. He grinned. Tianxing, I told you not to hide this from brother. How can you hide this kind of thing? You didn't believe me. Look, brother found out. He rattled on and on. Bailey Han frowned. Get to the point. The point is, Tianxing pursued Xiaodong 5 years ago, but Xiaodong didn't like him and didn't accept his pursuit. Xiao Tianxing protested with his eyes. His charm was obvious to everyone. There had never been a woman that he couldn't get. Bailey Yun forced him to give in with his eyes. If you're a bro, then I'll help you this time. Xiao Tianxing was defeated in the end. He shrunk his neck and licked his wounds, silently taking the blame. Bailey Yun patted his head with satisfaction and smiled mischievously. Turns out that Xia Xia has good taste. She has a discerning eye and can tell that I'm the one who's worth entrusting her life to, Xiao Tianxing cried silently. He would never admit that he had such a brother who rubbed salt on other people's wounds. Bailey Han pressed the veins on his forehead. This brother of his was really worrisome. Bai Liyun smiled as he stroked his chin. Come to think of it, it should be afternoon tea time in London now. I have to hurry home and talk to Xiaoxia on the phone. Don't be envious of me, you two. He swayed his hips, which were tightly wrapped by his tight pants, and walked away, leaving the two dumbfounded. His swaying hips caused a series of screams. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 76. For some reason, Bailey Han's mood became extremely bad. This feeling was similar to when you picked up a puppy on the street and despised it for being ugly. You finally started to get familiar with it and started to think that its ugliness was actually acceptable, but in the end, it ran away with its previous owner. The most annoying thing was that it had more than one previous owner. Bailey Han wanted to roar and throw a punch, but he quickly rejected his emotions. He was conflicted and walked back to the client with a sullen face. The client thought that he had angered him and quickly called two beautiful miss to accompany him. Bailey Han looked at the girls around him and became more and more irritated. He suppressed himself and found an excuse to leave. Sitting in the car, Bailey Han seemed to be possessed as he pressed a string of numbers. Xia Dong had just taken a nap when her phone rang. She squinted her eyes and reached for her phone. She asked in a half-awake state, "Hello, who is this?" Hearing her familiar voice, Bailey Han suddenly woke up. Damn it, he must be crazy. He decisively hung up the phone and started the car. When he returned to the villa, the lights in the bedroom were on. Su Yunxian was lying on his spacious bed. The thin blanket just covered her chest, revealing a large area of snow-white skin. He walked to the bed and gently pulled the blanket over her body. She seemed to be awakened and opened her sleepy eyes. Her voice was lazy and charming. Han, you're back. He helped her sit up. Why didn't you tell me that you were coming over? She smiled and snuggled into his arms. I called you in the evening. You said that you were going to meet a client, so I didn't want to disturb you. Have you had dinner? Yes, I had dinner with Xiao Yi. He even told me about the interesting things that happened in the kindergarten. He patted her head. This is a good sign. Xiao Yi seems to have started to accept you. She drew circles on his chest with her slender fingers and whispered suggestively, What about you? When do you plan to accept me wholeheartedly? Bailey Han caught her fingers. Stop playing. It's getting late. Rest early, okay? He caressed her cheek and kissed her forehead gently before getting up and entering the bathroom. Su Yunxian took out his phone from his jacket and opened the call log. When she saw Xia Dong's name, her fingers tightened and her eyes were filled with coldness. Bailey Han came out of the shower and saw the person curled up on the bed with her back facing him. He thought that she had already fallen asleep, so he gently lay beside her. However, she hugged him. Her hands caressed his body, sliding from his chest to his waist. Her lips kissed his, gently sucking on his lips. In his arms, she twisted her waist seductively, blooming with charm, seductive moans, teasing his nerves. However, he didn't feel anything. His deep eyes were as cold as ever. Her teasing had no effect at all. He was so calm that it made her feel cold. She sobbed. Why is it like this? Han, am I not attractive to you at all? He pinched his eyebrows. Yunxian, I'm already very tired. Han, I'm getting more and more desperate. Do you know that? We've been together for 6 years, but you've never touched me. Do you not like me, or is it because of other reasons? She looked at him pitifully. I'm very afraid. I'm afraid that I'll be old and won't be able to win your favor. When will you give me a promise? In front of outsiders, she was a goddess. However, in front of him, she felt like a lowly servant who had been begging for her master's love. It had been 6 years. She no longer had the patience to endure it. Today she would get an answer. Yunxian, why would you have such thoughts? You know that I've always loved you. Bailey Han rubbed his forehead. He had a headache. Let's not talk about this first, okay? No, I have to get an answer. Su Yunxian couldn't calm down when she thought of the call records in his phone. Last time at the racecourse, he and that B*TCH clearly had no interaction. Why did they suddenly resume contact? Bailey Han was not in a good mood. Being pestered by her, he became more and more irritable. Although there was no change in his expression, his tone became heavier. I've already said that today is not the right time to talk about this. You sleep here. I'll go to the guest room. He got up and was about to leave when Su Yunxian stopped him. No need. You don't have to leave. The one who should leave is me. Han, I think we should think about it calmly. What exactly do we want? Yunqian, are you forcing me? Bailey Han's face darkened. He didn't like to be held by the neck even if it was the person he liked. She turned her back to him and elegantly dressed. After she was dressed neatly, she tiptoed and kissed him on the cheek. She said softly, Han, I'm not forcing you. I just want you to think about it clearly. How about a month? It's enough for us to think about this relationship. Good night. She walked out of his room with her head held high like a proud queen. She didn't walk very fast. She thought that he would chase after her, just like when they quarreled before. However, she still didn't see him until she got the car. In the driver's seat, Su Yunqian could no longer maintain the indifference on her face. She was a little annoyed, a little angry and a little sad, but more than that there was hatred. 5 years ago, if that bitch hadn't appeared and ruined everything, she would have become Bailey's wife and given birth to the heir of the Bailey family. She wouldn't have to compromise to maintain their relationship like now. She clenched the steering wheel with both hands, and a pair of eyes full of hatred and viciousness were reflected in the rearview mirror. Xiaodong, I don't care who is behind you. In short, we are irreconcilable. At this moment, Xiaodong, who was far away in London, had just woken up from her afternoon nap. She rubbed her messy hair and got out of bed. Patting her groggy head, she remembered that she had received a silent phone call in her sleep. Worried that it had something to do with the children, she quickly checked the call log. A Bailey Han. Strange, why did he call? Did he press the wrong number? Yes, that must be it. Xiaodong didn't take the call to heart at all. After washing up, she began to pack her luggage in preparation for the fashion show that night. Just as she was holding a set of clothes in front of her and hesitating, her cell phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number that looked like a public phone. She said in fluent English, "Hello, I'm Xiaodong. May I know who is calling?" The other party spoke in fluent English in a low and magnetic voice. "Beautiful miss, please open the window. I have a surprise for you." What was it? Why was he being so mysterious? Xiaodong held the cell phone in one hand and pushed open the window with the other. She saw a tall man walking out of a phone booth on the street below. The man was wearing a suit, a black trench coat and a black gentleman's hat. His gaze was fixed on her. He slowly took off his hat, revealing an extraordinarily handsome face. His tall nose cast a perfect shadow under the sunlight, and his sexy thin lips curved into a cold smile. Xiaodong covered her mouth in disbelief. In the next second, she dashed downstairs and ran towards the man. The man opened his arms and hugged Xiaodong, who was running towards him, and twirled her around happily. Xiaodong laughed loudly and the man laughed as well. After a long while, the man put her down. She punched his chest in annoyance and complained, "Brother Shin, you're so bad. You didn't even tell me you were coming." Mika Kito ruffled her hair, his obsidian eyes filled with undetectable affection. "If I told you in advance, would it still be a surprise?" Xiaodong wrinkled her delicate nose. All right. No matter what, you're right. Hurry up and tell me why you're in London. Aren't you in Rome? Of course it's because you're in London. I missed you so much that I flew over from Rome." He looked at her and smiled half-jokingly. She punched him unhappily. "Don't make fun of me. Be serious." He held her hand and led her upstairs with a gentle smile. "I'm serious. When you were in Milan, I planned to visit you. However, something came up at the last minute, so I flew over while you were still in Europe. I'm so touched. Brother Shin is still the best to me." Xiaodong rolled into his arms like a puppy and rubbed against him. "You're already a mother of 2, but you're still so young." Mika Kito ruffled her hair in amusement. "You're my big brother. I won't feel embarrassed if I have to rely on you for the rest of my life." Xiaodong smiled and hugged his arm. In her heart, he was her big brother. She could rely on him, act coquettishly and complain to him. He was the most trustworthy person. She had always been grateful that there was such a person in this world who could let her throw away her disguise and simply be herself. "I really don't know what to do with you." Mika Kito smiled, but his eyes were a little gloomy. "Just a big brother?" The gloominess disappeared in a flash. Looking at the little woman in his arms and giggling foolishly, he felt very happy. Even his voice was full of laughter. "Are you hungry? I'll take you to eat something delicious." "Okay, but let me make it clear first. I don't eat Western food. I've been eating Western food in Europe for a week. I don't want to smell Western food until next year." She made an exaggerated, disgusted expression, which made him laugh. "You're exaggerating. According to what you said, People who study in Europe don't want to smell Western food for the rest of their lives. She held her forehead sadly. That's because they have a strong stomach and I don't want to let my poor thin stomach suffer. Yes, Your Highness. Your night will definitely satisfy you. Mika Kito blinked and stretched out his right arm in front of her like a gentleman. She raised her chin and elegantly held his arm. The two of them walked side by side and smiled at each other. Mika Kito drove her to a small restaurant in Chinatown. Although the restaurant was in a very secluded place, the hall was full of people. Fortunately, Mika Kito had made a reservation in advance. Otherwise they would have had to wait for a while. A waiter in a tang suit led them to their seats. Xia Dong exclaimed, "There are so many people here." Mika Kito smiled and said, "Yes, this restaurant makes the best Chinese food, so business has always been good." She rested her chin on her hand and asked curiously, "How did you find this place?" "I used to be in London. One of my men brought me here." Mika Kito helped her disinfect the bowls and chopsticks and placed them in front of her. Just then, a waiter walked over quickly with a large metal plate of spicy crabs. The spicy aroma of the red crabs made Xia Dong's mouth water. "Come and see." Hongcha 866. Chapter 77. Slow down, be careful. It's hot. Mika Kito opened the crab, took out the crab meat and placed it on the plate for her. Oh, it's delicious. Brother Shin, try it too." Xia Dong picked up a spicy shrimp that the waiter had just served and placed it on his plate. The crayfish was spicy, fragrant, and delicious. Xia Dong swallowed her belly and chewed until her face was covered in oil. Mika Kito took out a tissue and wiped the oil off her face. He had seen her embarrassed look too many times, so she didn't mind at all. She smiled foolishly and moved her face closer to him so that he could wipe it off. His movements were very gentle, and his eyes were full of smiles. "How is it? Is it delicious?" Yes. I finally got to eat something delicious. I'm so satisfied." Xia Dong's eyes were filled with tears, like a spoiled puppy. Mika Kito patted her head. "What else do you want to eat? I'll order it for you." She rubbed her bulging belly. "No need, I'm already full." Seeing the pile of shrimp and crab shells in front of him, she said embarrassedly, "The ones you peeled are all in my stomach. You didn't eat much yourself. This time it's my turn to peel the shells for you." He stopped her. "No need, I'm not hungry. If you're full, I'll send you back to the hotel." Mika Kito sent her back to the hotel and told her that he would be leaving at 8 o'clock in the evening. That time was when Xia Dong would be attending the fashion show. "Do you have to be in such a hurry? We've only been together for 3 hours. Her reluctant expression made his mood very good. "We'll meet again soon. When that time comes, I can accompany you for a long time." "All right then. Be careful on the road and even more so in Rome. Don't be seduced by beautiful girls." She hugged him reluctantly. "Okay." His embrace was so warm and his voice was as mellow as wine. She couldn't help but be intoxicated. He hadn't left yet, but she was already missing him. She stood in front of the window and watched him go downstairs. She stood downstairs and waved goodbye. She got into the car and drove to the airport. The little girl's temperament slowly calmed down. She took a long breath and raised her arm again. "Cheer up, today is also a beautiful day." She picked up the clothes piled on the bed and compared them one by one. In the end, she chose an evening gown that was stylish and did not lose her character. After changing her clothes and putting on her makeup, she once again looked like the calm and capable chief editor Xia Dong in the mirror. The fashion show was very successful. Xia Dong dug up a lot of news materials and sorted them out overnight and sent them to Lilith. She was busy until early in the morning. When she looked at the time, she found that it was the time for the children to go to kindergarten. She quickly called them and gave them a morning kiss. Then she threw herself on the bed and fell asleep. She was very busy on this business trip and didn't have time to think about anything else. When she returned to China, she would find that she was once again being played by fate. "Baby's mommy, I'm back. Did you miss me?" Xia Dong came to her aunt's house with bags of gifts and took the two children home. Xiao Guai was watching TV with Xia Yun in the living room. When she saw Xia Dong come back, she immediately cheered and pounced on her. Mommy, I missed you so much." "Mommy missed you so much too, Gigai." Xia Dong hugged her daughter's soft little body and kissed her madly. Xiao Bao wore a pair of black framed glasses on the bridge of her nose. She carried a small laptop and walked out of the room in slippers. She looked up at her coolly. "Mom, you still know to come back. I thought you were going to stay abroad and marry a foreigner." "Aya, baby, don't be angry. Mommy brought you a gift." Xiaodong squatted down and rubbed her son's head. She pulled out a beautifully packaged box from the pile of bags and handed it to him with a smile. Open it and see if you like it. Inside the box was a white, small Apple laptop. Xiao Bao's black grape-like eyes sparkled, but there was a disdainful smile on her lips. She raised her chin arrogantly. Mom, you abandoned us and went abroad for 10 whole days. Do you think you can bribe me with a laptop? Xiaodong rubbed her son's soft cheeks. Of course not. Mommy knows you're not that easy to bribe, so I'll be with you for the next 2 days off. You can do whatever you want. The company's leaders saw how hard it was for her to go on a business trip and gave her 2 days off. Okay. Mommy, I want to go to the amusement park, the aquarium, and the botanical garden. Xiao Guai counted on her fingers as she looked forward to the future. Mommy rarely took her out to play ever since they returned to the country. Mommy even secretly took her to the hospital and forbade her from telling her brother and aunt. She wanted to be like other children and go to interesting places to play, not the hospital that smelled of medicine. That won't do. Gigai, you can't be greedy. You can only go to 2 places in 2 days. Gigai and baby can each choose a place that you want to go to the most, okay? Then I can only choose one. Her pink cheeks collapsed in disappointment. Her large, watery eyes blinked as she reached out to tug at the corner of Xiaodong's shirt. Mommy, can we go to a few more places? I really want to go. Xiaodong comforted her patiently. No, you can't. You'll be very tired if you go to many places in one day. Xiao Bao blinked and stroked his sister's head. Gigai, Mommy just came back from a business trip. She's also very tired. We'll only have fun if we go to 1 place a day, right? Big brother will let you choose so you can choose 2 places. Brother is right. We can't let Mommy be too tired. Xiao Guai's delicate little face broke into a smile. She said thoughtfully, then let's go to the botanical garden and the planetarium. I know brother has always wanted to go to the planetarium. Xiaodong was touched to see them being so considerate and giving in to each other. No matter how tired or hard it was outside, when she came home and saw their smiling faces, she felt that all the hard work was worth it. It was the first day they went to the botanical garden. The botanical garden in a city was very famous. There were thousands of plants and flowers in it, and it covered a very large area. Xiaodong took them to visit the desert vegetation, took a picture of them in front of the strange cactus, and then led them into the tropical botanical garden. There were many precious plants in the tropical botanical garden. The children had only seen them on TV. Walking into the rainforest, they seemed to have walked into another world. They opened their eyes curiously, looked here and there, and surrounded the staff member to listen to him explain the wonders of the plants. There were also many children around the staff member. They laughed excitedly, clapped their hands and shouted, That's great. This tree can even catch birds. That's so interesting. This tree can be shy. Look, touch it and it will dance. Xiao Guai tugged at Xiaodong's clothes. Mommy, look. That's the tree that Uncle said can drive away mosquitoes. The leaves look so strange. Xiaodong looked in the direction of her daughter's finger. Xiao Bao was not paying attention to them. All his attention was now attracted by the people outside the rainforest. The rainforest was built in a large glass room. Through the glass, Xiao Bao saw Bailey Yi and Bailey Han standing together. They seemed to be talking about something. Bailey Han had a faint smile on his face and Bailey Yi was also smiling happily. It was the first time Xiao Bao had seen Bailey Yi smile so brightly. Xiao Bao clenched his small fists tightly. His cheeks puffed up in anger and he gritted his teeth. Hey Xiao Bao, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Why do you look like you're constipated? Xiaodong turned around and saw that her son's face was ugly. She rubbed his head with concern. Constipated? Xiao Bao's face became even uglier. He bent over angrily and ran out like a small cannonball. Bao Bao, don't run around. Be careful. Seeing her son angrily rushing out without a word, Xiaodong became anxious. She quickly picked up her daughter and chased after him. Xiao Bao felt very uncomfortable. He wanted to run out to get some fresh air, so he buried his head and rushed out desperately. His small body was like a cannonball and he crashed into a pair of slender legs. Because the speed was too fast and the impact was too strong, he fell to the ground with a plop. He looked up and saw Bailey Han's handsome face. His anger immediately reached its peak. His small chest rose and fell rapidly and his cheeks puffed up. He glared at him angrily. You bumped into me. Bailey Han looked at the child sitting on the ground angrily. He was a little unhappy, but he still bent over to pull him up from the ground. Unexpectedly, the child avoided his hands and angrily shouted, Go away, I don't want your fake kindness. Xia Xiaobao, I won't allow you to yell at my daddy. Bailey Yi realized that the person sitting on the ground shamelessly was his rival Xia Xiaobao, so he shouted back at him with a straight face. When Xia Dong rushed over with her daughter in her arms, she saw this awkward scene. Her forehead was sweating profusely. Then, her daughter subconsciously called out, which made her sweat even more. Mommy, brother fell down. Xia Dong quickly covered her daughter's mouth and pulled up Xia Xiaobao, who was sitting on the ground, to find a hole to hide in. Mommy? Bailey Han looked at her expressionlessly, his gaze sharp and malicious. Xia Dong knew that her face must be very ugly now. You heard wrong. She said, Auntie. Humph. Xia Xiaobao glared at Bailey Han angrily. Uncle, not only are your eyes bad, your ears are also bad. My little sister clearly said, Auntie. Bailey Han's eyes narrowed and emitted a dangerous light. He said word by word, my eyes are very good and my ears are even more sensitive. I can still distinguish the pronunciation of mommy and auntie. That's right, Xiao Guai said mommy just now. I also heard it. Bailey Yi stood up and testified. Xia Dong facepalmed. Bailey Han, what's the point of arguing about this? I'm not only the children's aunt, but also their godmother. What's wrong with them calling me mommy? The veins on Bailey Han's forehead throbbed. Of course it was useful. This involved the children's biological parents. That's right, uncle. Don't think that I'll let you off just because you changed the topic. You bumped into me just now and hurt my little butt. My weak heart also suffered a great deal of damage. Moreover, if it wasn't treated in time, there might be repercussions. So, you have to compensate me. Xia Xiaobao stood in front of Xia Dong with her chest puffed out. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she stared at Bailey Han, diverting all his attention to herself. How do you want me to compensate you? Bailey Han said indifferently. Awesome novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 78. He raised his chin arrogantly and looked at him arrogantly. First of all, you have to take me to the hospital and compensate me for the checkup fees and a series of other expenses. However, seeing that we're all busy, you can just give me the money directly. You don't have to take me to the hospital. Secondly, you suddenly bumped into me and scared me, so you have to compensate me for the mental damage. Lastly, I'm injured and can't go to kindergarten, so you have to compensate me for the tuition. That's all. Look at how expensive and classy you're dressed. I'm sure you won't blame me for this little expense, okay? His last "oh" was a long drawl with a hint of mockery. Bailey Han's eyebrows moved slightly. Bailey was stunned. Xia Dong couldn't help but hold her forehead. Xiao Guai blinked her big eyes and said worriedly, Brother, are you hurt? Let's hurry to the hospital and see a doctor, okay? Xia Xiaobao patted her head. Gigai, after this uncle compensates me, I'll have money to go to the hospital. After that, he stretched out his hand in front of Bailey Han. So, uncle, hurry up and compensate me. Don't delay my treatment. Bailey finally came back to his senses and shouted angrily, Xia Xiaobao, why don't you be a robber? What kind of robber logic is that? You were running too fast and bumped into my daddy. You're simply too shameless. Bailey Yi's face was full of disgust. Xia Xiaobao grimaced. Humph, the one who bumps into someone and avoids responsibility is the shameless one. Bailey Yi's face was fierce. I won't allow you to talk about my daddy like that. You apologize to my daddy. I won't. The two children glared at each other angrily, as if they wanted to kill each other with their eyes. It looked like they were about to pounce on each other and wrestle. Xiao Yi, Bailey Han narrowed his eyes and gestured for his son to step back. He looked at the arrogant brat in front of him and said, Okay, I'll give it to you. Xia Dong looked at Bailey Han in shock and her jaw dropped. Bailey Han took out a check from his pocket and filled it out. Bailey Yi retorted indignantly, Daddy, this is extortion. Don't give the money to the little swindler. Xia Xiaobao straightened his neck. You're the liar. Your whole family are liars. Xiaobao, that's enough. Stop talking. Xia Dong was speechless. She pulled Xia Xiaobao away from Bailey Han and said to Bailey Han, Mr. Bailey, Xiaobao was just joking. Don't take it seriously. We'll leave first. You guys have fun. After she finished speaking, she carried her daughter and pulled her son to leave. However, Xiaobao grabbed her arm and refused to leave. Bailey Han tore the check and handed it to Xiaobao. Is this enough? Xiaobao saw the 5 zeros on the check and looked like he had accepted it reluctantly. He snorted and said, Not bad. After he finished speaking, he snatched the check from Bailey Han's hand and stuffed it into his pocket. Then he ran away with his short legs. Xia Dong helplessly looked at her son's back as he ran away. She said to Bailey Han, "I'll get the money back and return it to you. I'll leave first." "There's no need for that." Bailey Han calmly said these 4 words. He took his son's hand and left without looking at her again. Bailey was indignant. He didn't know why Daddy would give the money to Xia Xiaobao. Although he didn't care about the money, he was furious that Xia Xiaobao had succeeded in his scheme. Along the way he kept a straight face and didn't say a word. Bailey Han patted his head. "Don't be unhappy. Money is just a worldly possession." "I know. I'm just indignant. Xia Xiaobao is too despicable." Bailey was angry at the thought of his smug face. "He's very smart. You two have similar personalities. Maybe you can become good friends." "I won't become friends with him. He'll only go against me." Ever since he spilled the juice on Xiao Guai, he and Xia Xiaobao had become sworn enemies. The two of them wanted to bite each other to death. How could they become friends? Nothing is absolute. Daddy and your uncle Tianxing were sworn enemies when they were young, but we still became friends. Bailey Han tried to comfort his son. He knew that his son had always been a loner in school and didn't have many friends. He didn't want his son to have a lonely childhood like he did. Bailey nodded as if he understood. When Xia Dong found Xia Xiaobao, he was flicking the check in his hand with his small white hand. A smug smile hung on his adorable face. Xia Dong knocked on his head angrily. "Xia Xiaobao, you little money grubber. You're too brazen." Xiaobao's little face suddenly scrunched up. He covered his head with one hand and held the check in the other. "Mom, you hit me too hard. I wonder if I'm your biological son." Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. "What? Other than brazen, you dare to disown your own family? You unfilial son. I'm going to teach you a lesson." Hey, how am I unfilial? Mom, don't accuse me of anything. It's because I'm too filial that I blackmailed Bailey Han. He dared to abandon his mother and have a son with another woman. I'll make him bleed. All right. He suddenly patted his little head. It was all his mother's fault for suddenly going on a business trip. He almost forgot about the matter of stealing seeds. Okay, I won't waste time with you. Let's forget about this matter. Don't have anything to do with Bailey Han in the future. Xia Dong stretched out her hand and said, "Give me the check." "What? I worked so hard to earn this." Xiao Bao quickly stuffed the check into his pocket and covered it tightly as if he was hiding a treasure. "Of course I'm returning it to Bailey Han. No, I'd rather die than give in." "Xia Xiaobao. It's no use calling my name. I can't hear you." Xia Xiaobao covered his ears and ran away. Xia Dong put her hand on her forehead. In the end, she failed to persuade her son to hand over the check. That night, when her son was asleep, she took the check out of his secret vault and wanted to find an opportunity to return it to Bailey Han. Early the next morning, the first thing Xiao Bao did when he woke up was to check his vault. He found that the check was gone. With messy hair and messy pajamas, he knocked loudly on Xia Dong's door. Xia Dong opened the door with a pair of sleepy eyes. He immediately put his hands on his hips and angrily protested, "Mom, you actually went through my vault without permission. I'm going to sue you. Little brat, if you continue to make trouble, I'll use force to suppress you." Xia Dong was very angry when she woke up. She looked at her son with a dark face and said, "It's just 100,000 yuan. You earn more than that in a year. Why are you so petty? Be careful that you won't grow tall." Xiao Bao bit his lip angrily and glared at her. "This is not a matter of money. It's a matter of a man's dignity." Xia Dong was very sleepy. She directly ignored him and lay on the bed again. He was so angry that he kept yelling. In the end, Xiao Guai came forward and coaxed him. Next to the planetarium was an art gallery. Xia Dong came down from the planetarium with the children and saw a large group of people coming out of the art gallery. A few girls who looked like students were chatting. "I heard that teacher Xia's wife is supporting him behind his back for this art exhibition. Needless to say, his wife is Miss Su of the Su group. She's rich and powerful. It's not easy to open an art exhibition. Don't talk so loudly. Be careful not to be heard by others. What's there to be afraid of? Everyone knows anyway." Xia Dong was expressionless. She held the children's hands and walked past them quietly. "Mommy, I'm so thirsty." Xiao Guai stopped walking and shook Xia Dong's arm. Xia Dong looked around and saw a McDonald's about 20 meters away. She said, "Gigai, hold on a little longer. We'll rest in McDonald's." Xiao Guai said obediently, Yes, Mommy, let's go." Xia Dong held the children's hands and was about to continue walking forward when a man's voice suddenly came from behind. Xia Xia. Xia Dong's body froze. This voice was not familiar, but it was not unfamiliar either. She heard it once 5 years ago, but she remembered it deeply. She did not want to turn around. She held the two children's small hands tightly. "Mommy, you're hurting me," Xiao Guai complained tearfully. "I'm sorry, baby." Xia Dong quickly let go. Xia Jinxing had already caught up with them. Just like 5 years ago, he was still wearing a high-class suit and his hair was combed neatly. The only difference was that there was white hair on his head and a few more wrinkles on his face. His face was full of shock and disbelief, and his eyes seemed to be covered with mist. "Xia Xia, it's really you. I thought I would never see you again in this life." His originally straight back was now slightly hunched, and his eyes were shining with agitation and pain. "But, Mr. Xia, I don't want to see you at all. I don't want to see you again in this life." Every time Xia Dong thought of him, her heart would twitch in pain. She felt sorry for her mother. Even on the day her mother passed away, she still could not forget him. Xia Jinxing was shocked by his daughter's words and staggered back a step. Xiao Guai looked at Xia Jinxing curiously. This grandpa was so strange. Why was he standing in front of Mommy? Xia Xiaobao's pure eyes were full of curiosity. What was the relationship between this grandpa and Mommy? Why did Mommy look so pained when she saw him? Why did she seem to hate him? "Mr. Xia, please move aside. We're leaving," Xia Dong said expressionlessly. Xia Jinxing could not bear to move aside. Ever since he saw her 5 years ago, he had not seen her again. He was afraid that if he moved aside this time, he would never see her again. Even if he could say a few more words to her, it would be good enough. He stammered, "Xia Xia, these two children are very cute. They look a lot like you. Are you married? Does your husband treat you well?" "They are my nephews," Xia Dong explained coldly with an impatient look on her face. "Mr. Xia, I'm not interested in catching up with you. Please move aside." He said shamelessly, "Xia Xia, where do you live now? What's your phone number? I want to see you." She rejected him flatly. "No need. You will disturb my current life." She no longer had the patience to continue pestering him. She pulled the two children and walked around him. Xia Jinxing did not give up and grabbed her arm. "Xia Xia, Dad doesn't expect your forgiveness, but at least let Dad know how you and your mother are doing." Mom, Xia Dong could no longer maintain her composure. She flung his arm away and shouted angrily, "Don't mention Mom to me. She's already dead. She was killed by you. What right do you have to mention her? Xia Jinxing, I hate you. I don't want to see you again for the rest of my life." After shouting, Xia Dong glared at him fiercely and pulled the two children away without looking back. Xia Jinxing staggered back 2 steps, his face turning pale. Dead. Attention Xingwu 799. Chapter 79. How did Xiaoling die? How could it be? No, I don't believe it. You must be lying to me. Xia, don't curse your mother. Your mother must be alive and well. Xia Jinxing rushed forward and twisted Xia Dong's arm like a madman. Go away. No, it can't be. She can't be dead. Xia Jinxing suffered a huge blow. His eyes were unfocused as he muttered to himself. Mother is already dead. She died because of you. Seeing him like this, Xia Dong felt very satisfied. He viciously stabbed at his wound again, but this time he also stabbed his own wound. His heart ached so much that he couldn't suppress it. No. Xia Jinxing's face was pale as he hugged his head. He squatted on the ground and sobbed softly, "No." Tears unknowingly poured out. Xia Dong stubbornly touched her face and heartlessly walked away with the children. Xia Jinxing hugged his head and cried bitterly. The passers-by watched curiously, but no one went forward to ask. In the crowd, there was a girl holding a bouquet of flowers standing there quietly. She saw the whole scene and stood there for a few seconds. She raised her hand and threw the bouquet into the trash can. The corner of her mouth twitched in disdain. Her daddy was really useless. He was crying on the street. She didn't want to go up and embarrass herself. Su Xingchen walked in the direction Xia Dong left. Her phone rang. It was the person in charge of the art exhibition. "Miss Su, do you know where Mr. Xia is? I called him but he didn't pick up." Su Xingchen smiled sweetly. "I don't know. I was going to congratulate Daddy on successfully opening the art exhibition, but there was a traffic jam on the way, so I didn't reach the art gallery." "Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. Miss Su, I'll try to contact Mr. Xia again." "No problem." She smiled and said, "Goodbye." Then she put away her phone. When she looked up, she saw Xia Dong bringing the two children into McDonald's. In McDonald's, Xiaodong ordered drinks and food for Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao and found a seat. He looked a little depressed. Xiao Bao sat on the chair and asked curiously, "Mom, was that old man our grandfather?" Xiao Bao was sipping on the orange juice as he asked curiously, "Is that old man our grandfather?" Xiaodong's hand, which was holding the drink, stiffened. Her expression was terrible. "Baby, don't talk about him. I don't want to talk about him." "Oh, I got it." Xiao Bao Gigai shut her mouth, picked up a hamburger and handed it to her. "Mommy, don't be sad." Xiaodong forced a smile and stroked her son's head. "I'm not hungry. You guys eat. I'll take you to see Grandma after dinner." "Grandma?" Xiao Guai blinked her big watery eyes. "Is that Mommy's mommy?" "Yes, Mommy will take you to see her. She'll be very happy." Just as Xiaodong brought the children out of McDonald's, Su Xingqian also came out. He drove his Ferrari and followed behind them, maintaining a distance that was neither too far nor too close. Since he wouldn't be discovered, he wouldn't lose them either. The white BMW drove into the suburban cemetery. A few minutes later, a Ferrari pulled up behind the BMW. Xiao Guai held a bouquet of lilies in her hands. Xiaodong carried Xiao Guai and held Xiao Bao's hand as they walked into the cemetery. Small tombstones were erected, looking eerie. Xiao Guai hugged her neck and asked gently, "Mommy, why does Grandma live here? This place looks so scary." Xiaodong hugged her daughter tightly and said in a low voice, "Because Grandma has gone to a place very, very far away. This is just a place to remember her." Xiao Guai still didn't understand, but seeing her mommy's sad expression, she didn't ask any more questions. Xiaodong walked in front of a black tombstone. The words, "The tomb of the loving mother Xiaoling," were engraved on the tombstone. There was also a small photo of a woman in the photo smiling gently. Xiaodong placed the lilies in front of the tombstone and pursed her lips gently. "Mommy, I brought the children to see you." She pulled Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao to kneel in front of the tombstone and said softly, "Xiao Bao, Xiao Guai, this is your grandmother. Call her Grandma." "Grandma," a crisp voice drifted in the quiet air. "Mommy, I only came to see you now. Do you blame me?" Xiaodong touched the photo on the tombstone and her eyes were misty. She had so many things to say to her mother, but she couldn't say it in front of the children. In the end, she could only smile bitterly. "Mommy, I'm sorry. I've done a lot of wrong things. I'm too ashamed to see you." "Mommy, I saw Xia Zhenxing today. He didn't know you were gone." "Mommy, I scolded him, but I'm also very sad." Unknowingly, tears were streaming down her face. "Mommy, I really miss you." She would never forget the day when the results of the junior high exam were released. She happily ran home to report the good news to her mother, but when she ran into the alley, she saw her house being engulfed in flames. She cried and screamed crazily, wanting to rush into the fire, but the neighbor stopped her. In the end, she cried until she fainted in the uncle's arms. Her mother died in the sea of fire just like that. Not even her bones were left. The neighbor said that her mother set the fire because she couldn't stand being abandoned by her husband and couldn't stand the torment of a hard life. "Mommy, why didn't you wait until I grew up? Why didn't you wait until I was filial to you?" She held onto the tombstone and cried until she was out of breath. "Mommy, don't cry. Mommy. Gigai is so scared." Her daughter's delicate face was also full of tears, but she used her soft little hands to wipe away her mother's tears. Looking at her sensible daughter in front of her, Xiaodong gritted her teeth and suppressed the sadness in her heart. She hugged her daughter tightly in her arms. Why did God have to torture her like this? Her daughter was so young, but she had to endure the torment of illness? A small hand gently stroked her back and comforted her. "Mommy, I'll protect you from now on." Xiaodong looked up with tears in her eyes and saw her son's strong face. His cheeks were so young, but they were filled with courage and tenacity. She slowly curved her lips and revealed a smile. "Good, our little boy has grown up into a man." She should have been brave in front of her children, but she revealed her weak side. Her emotions gradually calmed down. She stroked the children's heads and said softly, "Baby Gigai, say goodbye to Grandma. We'll visit her again next time." Xiao Guai leaned closer to the tombstone and rubbed her pink cheeks against the photo. She said softly, "Grandma, if you want Gigai, we'll visit you again." Xiao Bao stood with his chest puffed out and his head raised. He said solemnly, "Grandma, don't worry. I'll take good care of Mommy and Xiao Guai. Mommy, please bless Gigai and let her live a healthy and happy life. Please also bless Baby and let him live a safe and happy life." After saying goodbye, Xiaodong left the cemetery with the children with red and swollen eyes. After they left, A beautiful figure stood up in front of another tombstone. She held a recording pen in her hand and smiled sweetly, but it seemed a little strange. "My good sister, I didn't expect you to bring me such a big surprise. Thank you so much." Su Xingchen walked out of the cemetery while talking on the phone. "Hello, Sister Yunqian, I found something very interesting. It's related to Xia Dong. Do you want to know?" "What is it?" "Do you know Xia Xiaobao and Xiao Guai? Aren't they Xia Dong's cousin's children?" Su Xingchen smiled brightly. "That's not right. They're actually Xia Dong's children. I heard them call Xia Dong mommy with my own ears." On the other side of the phone, Su Yunqian's body trembled. A terrifying thought suddenly popped up in her mind. Her voice was dry. "Who's the father of the children?" Su Xingchen shrugged. "Who knows? Maybe it's Brother Han." There was silence on the other side of the phone. After a few seconds, Su Xingchen heard a bang and then it was completely silent. The smile on her lips became brighter and brighter. She hummed a little tune and raised her hands in a circle happily. La la la. After returning home, Su Xingchen found that his parents were not home. The servant said, "Miss Sir is hospitalized. Madam is accompanying him in the hospital." Madam also told Miss not to worry. "Sir is just suffering from a heart attack and it's not very serious." "Okay, I got it. You can leave now." Su Xingchen acted as if nothing had happened. She went upstairs and entered her room. Her fair and slender fingers played with the recording pen. Her delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly. She supported her cheek with one hand and said in annoyance, recording pen, who should I hand you to? Give it to Grandma Bailey? No, Grandma will definitely think that I'm a gossiper. She'll hate me. Hand it to the media? No, if those two little bastards are Brother Han's children, then Brother Han will know the truth. Okay, I'll hand it to Sister Yunqian. Let her worry about it." She snapped her fingers and put it in a document bag. She asked the servant to send it to Su Yunqian's office as fast as possible. After Su Yunqian returned from England, she returned to the family business and took up the position of director of the planning department. On the surface, she was only the director of the planning department, but everyone in the company knew that she was the future leader. Even the people on the board of directors were respectful to her. However, Su Yunqian never put on airs. She was always pleasant to everyone. However, the assistant felt that Su Yunqian was a little strange today. She accidentally broke the cup twice in a row. The first time was after she received a private call. The second time was after she received a document bag. Su Yunqian quickly restrained her anger and hatred and made a phone call. "Help me do something." The next day, the recording on the recording pen was made into a CD and mailed anonymously to old Madame Bailey. Not even a fingerprint was left. After old Madame Bailey heard the contents of the CD, her expression changed. She ordered the driver to get the car. She had to go out. Xia Dong had just picked up the children from kindergarten when a black car drove in front of her. Old Madame walked out with a cold face. "Xia Dong, I want to talk to you." The neighbors in the neighborhood looked over curiously. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. "Old Madame, please come upstairs with me." She drove the children back to their room. She made a cup of tea and put it in front of Old Madame. "Old Madame, you can say whatever you want." Old Madame went straight to the point. "Xia Xiaobao and Xiao Guai, are they your children?" Xia Dong thought about why Old Madame suddenly asked this question. She smiled calmly. "Old Madame, you already know whether they are my children or not." Old Madame sneered. "I got the news that they were your nephews. But today I heard that they are actually your biological children." Ad. Songshu 566. Chapter 80. Xia Dong paused and picked up the teacup. She took a sip and said, "To be honest, they are indeed my children." "Good for you, Xia Dong. You've played the dirty trick again and again. You're as cunning as a fox." Old Madame slammed the teacup on the coffee table, causing the tea to splash. She said sternly, "Are they Ahan's children?" Xia Dong laughed mockingly. "Old Madame, you should know better than me whether they are Bailey Han's children or not. When I was still in the delivery room, you kidnapped my aunt and uncle and forced me to take Xiaoyi away from me. Don't you know better than me how many children I had at that time? To think that I made the wrong choice back then. I wanted to set you up with Ahan, but I didn't expect you to escape to Japan with a big belly. Forget it, I don't want to talk about the past. Since you deny that they are Ahan's children, then tell me who is their biological father." Xia Dong gritted her teeth and remained silent. Old Madame was aggressive. "Tell me who is their father." "It's me." A deep and magnetic voice sounded, accompanied by footsteps. Old Madam turned her head and saw a tall man with handsome features. He was wearing a white robe that was slightly open, revealing his strong chest. He crossed his arms around his shoulders and his deep eyes revealed a dangerous look. Old Madam frowned. "Who are you?" Xia Dong was shocked. "Brother Shin." Mika Kito walked over and sat beside Xia Dong. He naturally put his arm around her shoulders and announced domineeringly, "I'm Xia Dong's man Mika Kito." Xia Dong's mouth twitched. She wanted to say something but in the end she held back. Old Madam's suspicious gaze moved back and forth between the two of them. Finally, her probing gaze landed on Mika Kito. "Your surname is Beitang. Who is Beitang Haichi to you?" Mika Kito said calmly, "My father." Old Madam was silent for a moment and said slowly, "Young man, you said that you are Xia Dong's man. Are those two children also your children? You have good hearing and a good memory." Mika Kito's tone had a hint of sarcasm. Old Madam's face darkened. "Young man, there's an old saying in China, a strong dragon can't suppress a snake. I advise you not to be too arrogant." Beitang Shin's expression did not change, but his tone became more serious. "My woman and child are naturally under my protection. If anyone dares to touch them, even if I have to use the entire Yamaguchi-gumi to fight, I will not hesitate. The Bailey family is very powerful in a city, but the Yamaguchi-gumi is not weak either. Even if the Yamaguchi-gumi is at a disadvantage here, Mika Kito has the determination to perish together with the Yamaguchi-gumi. This is something that Old Madam can't compare to. She has considered too many things for the entire Bailey family." The coldness in Old Madam's eyes gradually dissipated, and her expression gradually calmed down. She said, "Speaking of which, my old man and your father are old friends. With such a promising son like you, he should be able to enjoy his old age in peace." Mika Kito knew that Old Madam was expressing goodwill. He went down her ladder and said with a smile, "It's rare that Old Madam still remembers my father. It's a pity that he passed away 5 years ago." Old Madam had not paid attention to the foreign mafia for a long time. When she heard that Beitang Tsuri had passed away, she was shocked and sighed. Mika Kito chatted with her for a while. After going around in circles they returned to the main topic. Old Madam sipped her tea and turned to look at Xia Dong. She said slowly, "Miss Xia, I hope you still remember what I said last time." Xia Dong said calmly, "Of course. I still remember every word that Old Madam said." "That's good. I won't disturb the two of you. Old Madam, let me walk you out." Xia Dong walked Old Madam to the door and locked it. She returned to the living room and looked at Mika Kito without saying a word. Mika Kito smiled. Xia, are you not happy to see me?" Xia Dong felt a headache coming on. "Brother Shin, why didn't you tell me before you came? I was caught off guard by your sudden appearance." He shrugged nonchalantly. "I wanted to give you and the babies a surprise." Xia Dong felt helpless. She walked up to him and tightened his slightly open robe. She asked, "When did you arrive? Have you eaten?" "Not long after I got off the plane. I took a shower and was resting in your room when I heard the sound of you coming back." He touched her head. "Do you still mind that I said that I'm the baby's father?" Xia Dong lowered her head sadly. "Although I do mind, I know that if you hadn't suddenly jumped out to help me, I really wouldn't know what to do." Mika Kito pulled her into his arms and hugged her tightly. His voice was deep and magnetic. "Don't worry about it in the future. Learn to rely on your man." "Do you really think that you're my man?" Xia Dong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She punched his chest. Mika Kito raised his eyebrows. "Since I've already said it, I can't take it back. Not only am I your man, but I'm also Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai's daddy." Fine. "You'll rot if I give you a little sunlight." Xia Dong pushed him and changed the topic. "Bao Bao and Gigai have been talking about you for a long time. Go and see them." "Bao Bao, Gigai, come out and see who's here." Xia Dong knocked on the door of her son and daughter's room. "Uncle Shen, Gigai missed you so much." Xiao Guai cheered and threw herself into Mika Kito's arms. "Uncle Shen." Xiao Bao also threw herself at him. Her handsome little face was full of excitement. "You two little rascals, did you listen to mommy's words like Gigai?" Mika Kito hugged the children in each arm and played with them on the sofa. Xia Dong looked at them with a smile in her eyes. "Mommy, don't just stand there. Come and play with us." The children pulled her over and the four of them started playing games. Laughter and screams drifted in the room. At night, Xia Dong personally made many of Mika Kito's favorite dishes. They gathered together like a family and talked about the interesting things that had happened recently. They played with the children happily. It was late at night and it was time to rest. Xiaodong took a quilt and laid it on the sofa in the living room. Brother Shin, you sleep in my room tonight. I'll sleep in the living room. Mika Kito laughed. How can a woman sleep in the living room? Go back to your room and sleep. I'll sleep on the sofa. Xiaodong pushed him away. You just got off the plane. You must be very tired. You can rest well on the bed. Besides, are you sure you won't fall off if you sleep on the sofa? So, don't argue with me. Go back to your room and rest. Xia. Mika Kito refused to compromise. I'm a man. I can't let you suffer. Xiaodong rolled her eyes. Come on, you male chauvinist. This is my territory. Listen to me. Go back to your room and sleep. To prevent him from nagging, Xiaodong turned off the lights and lay down on the sofa. Anyway, the sofa is my territory. You can't take it away from me even if you want to. Mika Kito shook his head in amusement when he saw how shameless she was. In fact, he had many ways to make her compromise, but it felt so good to be cared for by her that he couldn't bear to reject her. The soft quilt had a faint fragrance. It was her scent. Lying on her bed, it was like being hugged by her. Beitang Shin's entire body and mind relaxed. Soon he felt sleepy. However, he had been paying attention to the movements in the living room, so he restrained himself and prevented himself from falling asleep. Finally, the sound of tossing and turning in the living room stopped. She was fast asleep. Mika Kito quietly approached the sofa, bent down, and carried her up from the sofa. He gently placed her on the bed. As soon as Xiaodong returned to her familiar territory, she automatically hugged the quilt. Mika Kito's lips curved into a smile. He pulled the quilt over her and fell asleep next to her. The next day, Xiaodong got up from the sofa sleepily. She patted the sofa in her house with satisfaction. It was soft and comfortable. She slept on the sofa all night and didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Just as she was wrapped in the blanket and giggling foolishly, Beitang Shin walked out of the bathroom. Because of the presence of the children, he paid special attention to his image. He had already changed his clothes, but his hair was still a little wet. Xiaodong waved her hands foolishly. Brother Shin, good morning. Mika Kito rubbed her messy hair and smiled. Good morning. Did you sleep well last night? Yes, very well. She jumped down from the sofa. I also had two strange dreams. I dreamed that I was on a plane that flew to my bed and then to the sofa. Ah, isn't it strange? Mika Kito's lips curved into a smile. Yes, it is strange. Go and wash up. I'll send the children to school with you later. After breakfast, Mika Kito carried Xiao Guai while Xiaodong held Xiao Bao's hand and went downstairs to pick up the car. Along the way they bumped into acquaintances. Everyone greeted them happily. Miss Ya, is this your husband? He's so good-looking. Hearing the first person say this, Xiaodong explained, No, this is my brother. Hearing the second person say this, she continued to explain. After hearing more than 10 people say this, Xiaodong finally realized that she couldn't stop the rumors on her own. She could only sit in the car and sulk. Mika Kito saw her angry face through the rearview mirror and couldn't help but tease her. Xia, why don't I write a notice and post it in the neighborhood to tell everyone the truth? It's all your fault. Who asked you to be so handsome? Xiaodong pestered him endlessly, attributing all the fault to his good looks. Mika Kito couldn't help but cough. Xiao Guai stood up for him. Mommy, it's not Uncle Shen's fault that he's good-looking. Xiao Bao also spoke up for him. Mom, can I take it that you're being unreasonable? Oh, this was too despicable. The children were already siding with him so quickly. How could they abandon their poor mommy? Xiaodong wanted to scratch the car seat. Uncle Shen, goodbye. When the car arrived at the kindergarten, the two little guys pounced on Mika Kito and kissed him. Then they waved at Xiaodong. Mommy, goodbye. Xiaodong's heart ached when he saw the difference in treatment so quickly. Why do you only kiss your Uncle Shen and not Mommy? Mommy, don't be jealous. Gigai kisses you too. Her daughter was still the cutest. She hugged her and gave her a loud kiss. Xiao Bao snorted arrogantly and jumped out of the car, ignoring her. Not far from them, a Rolls-Royce was parked. Bailey Yi waved to the people in the car. Daddy, goodbye. Bailey Han nodded. Seeing his son enter the school gate, he instructed the driver to drive. He accidentally saw a man rubbing Xiaodong's hair. Xiaodong pouted as if she was complaining about something. The man smiled and looked at her with a focused and affectionate expression. It was so dazzling. His mood suddenly became very bad. Hongcha 866. Chapter 81. In the chief editor's office of Glamour magazine, Xia Dong dialed Bailey Han's number. "Mr. Bailey, do you have time? I would like to see you." "You can talk over the phone." Bailey Han leaned back in his comfortable office chair. His slender fingers tapped on the table impatiently. At this moment, the scene he saw outside the kindergarten in the morning popped into his mind. It was the scene of her and a man being very intimate. Xia Dong paused and said, "It's about the 100,000 yuan check. Xiao Bao is not sensible. I apologize to you on his behalf. Also, I will ask my assistant to send the check to your office." "No need." Bailey Han's tone suddenly became serious. "I never take back what I have given away." Xia Dong thought for a moment and said, "In that case, I will donate it to charity in your name. Since you have already given it away, you have the right to use it. You don't have to tell me." Bailey Han said coldly. Xia Dong choked. She did not understand why Bailey Han sounded so angry. "Is there anything else?" Bailey Han did not hear a response, so he frowned impatiently. "If there is nothing else, I will not disturb you. Goodbye." Xia Dong shook her head. Why did she think so much? Anyway, she had never seen through Bailey Han. At the old Bailey mansion, Su Yunqian was dressed beautifully and appropriately. She brought a blue and white porcelain vase to visit the old lady. "Grandma, this is the blue and white porcelain vase that Daddy bought at an auction 2 days ago. He asked me to bring it to you." The old lady liked it at first sight. She put on her glasses and looked at the vase carefully. "Oh, this is from the Song dynasty, right? It is so beautiful." Su Yunqian smiled and said, "Daddy said that you have good taste. It is the blue and white porcelain vase's fortune to have you as its owner." "This child is getting better at talking. Your daddy is so considerate. Please thank him for me." The old madam pulled her over to sit beside her and called for the housekeeper. "Bring my jade vase down." The housekeeper responded and quickly brought a green jade vase from upstairs. The old madam said with a smile, "Yunqian, do you think this vase is pretty?" "It's very beautiful and expensive." Old madam handed the vase to her. "This vase is most suitable for a bouquet of roses. Put it on the dressing table." "Yunqian, it's very suitable for young ladies like you." "Grandma, this is too expensive. I can't accept it." "This is also Grandma's goodwill. If you like it, just accept it." Being straightforward is the demeanor that our granddaughter-in-law of Bailey should have. On the surface, the old madam was giving her a gift, but in fact, she was hinting that her status had already been recognized by the Bailey family. "Thank you, Grandma." Su Yunqian's lips curled up, maintaining her perfect posture. The old madam nodded with satisfaction. Although she didn't think highly of Su Yunqian before, she still loved Bailey Han for so many years. Even if he had a child, she didn't leave him. This kind of kindness was very rare. Moreover, she was very good at dealing with people. Gradually, she began to recognize Su Yunqian. The old madam glanced around and the servants on both sides automatically retreated. She patted the back of Su Yunqian's hand and said, "Yunqian, I heard that something unpleasant happened between you and Ahan. You haven't seen him recently." Su Yunqian smiled. She didn't complain or get angry. Her attitude was calm. "No, Grandma. We're fine. It's just that Ahan is a little busy. I don't want him to be so tired, so I didn't disturb him." The old madam was very satisfied with her attitude and said, "It's because he's a little busy that he needs a woman to take care of him. If two people are too close to each other, they'll get tired. If they're too far away, they'll become estranged. You have to control this." "I understand, Grandma. I'll take care of it." Su Yunqian furrowed her brows and revealed a troubled expression. The old madam asked, "What's wrong? Is there something else you're hiding from me?" "No. Actually, it's nothing. I just heard some gossip." Su Yunqian wanted to say something but stopped. "There's nothing you can't say in front of me. Just say whatever you want." "It's about Xia Dong." Xingqian said that she once saw Xia Dong shopping with her 2 little nephews on the street. The 2 children called Xia Dong Mommy. "Grandma, are they really Xia Dong's children? Then their father, could it be?" Su Yunqian stopped at just the right moment. "No." The old madam looked serious and said, "I know what you want to say. I've already asked her. The children's father is someone else." Su Yunqian felt relieved, but soon she had doubts. "Could she be lying to you? I've already seen the children's father. Moreover, when she gave birth to the children, there was only one. It can't be triplets." Su Yunqian was still worried, so she said, "Grandma, wouldn't it be safer to check their DNA in Han's? I've also thought about this, but I'm afraid that I'll disturb a Han and he'll notice something. So let's just leave it at that." The old madam waved her hand and did not want to talk about it anymore. Su Yunxian changed the topic and chatted with the old madam for half an hour before she left. After Su Yunxian left, the old madam began to think deeply. Who sent the CD to the Bailey family and what was that person's motive? In order to avoid a misunderstanding like last time and to avoid Mika Kito's attention, Xia Dong deliberately went to the hospital for a gynecological checkup during her lunch break. She chose the hospital where Yi Siki's husband Lin Shihao worked. Xia Dong looked at Lin Shihao anxiously. Shihao, how is it? Am I pregnant? Lin Shihao carefully examined her and said regretfully, You're not pregnant. Xia Dong's eyes immediately dimmed. Lin Shihao comforted her. Xia Dong, don't be anxious. At your age it's a little difficult to get pregnant. Try a few more times and you'll succeed. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. A few more times? How can there be so many chances for me to try? Lin Shihao patted her shoulder. Xia Dong, this isn't like you. You're always optimistic. Think positively and don't be discouraged. Xia Dong grinned. Shihao, thank you. I'll take my leave now. Lin Shihao nodded. He walked her to the door and watched her leave. A young and beautiful female doctor walked over and said with a smile, Mr. Lin, why are you so reluctant to leave? Mei Wei, don't talk nonsense. Her name is Xia Dong. She's my wife's best friend. Xia Dong. Bai Mei Wei looked at Xia Dong's back. She's very beautiful and classy. What does she do for a living? She's an editor for a fashion magazine. Lin Shihao smiled and changed the topic. How is it? Are you used to it? Don't I have Mr. Lin to guide me? I'm already used to it. I have to thank Mr. Lin for this. Bai Mei Wei was the director's daughter and had just returned from studying in America. She blinked. Mr. Lin, I'll treat you to dinner tonight to express my gratitude. Is that okay? There's no need to treat me. You don't have to be so polite. This is what I should do. She was unyielding. Then let's treat it as a junior trying to build a relationship with Mr. Lin. Lin Shihao smiled apologetically. I have to go home to accompany my wife. I don't have time. Bai Mei Wei raised her eyebrows disapprovingly. Mr. Lin, you're such a good husband. But then again, aren't you tired of eating your wife's cooking for 5 years? Lin Shihao was already used to her straightforward words. He smiled and did not answer her question. I have an operation later. I can't accompany you. When Bai Mei Wei returned to her office, her phone rang. It was a call from her good friend. Hello, Fian. What's the matter? Mei Wei Xingqian said he's treating us to a bar. Are you interested? Sure. See you at Charm Bar at 8 tonight. Bai Mei Wei was in a bad mood and wanted to relax. Charm Bar. Xia Dong was leaning on the bar counter with several empty drinks in front of her. Miss, are you okay? The bartender knocked on the bar counter. I'm fine. What could be wrong with me? Xia Dong raised her head gloomily. She supported her chin with one hand and muttered to herself, I really want a drink. Non-alcoholic drinks were no longer able to relieve the boredom in her heart. She wanted to drink, but she had a bad habit of being muddle-headed when drunk. She had no choice but to restrain her desire. The handsome bartender smiled. He mixed a cocktail and placed it in front of her. Let's get drunk today. This drink is on me. Xia Dong's face was bitter. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't dare to drink. I'm an idiot who gets drunk when she drinks. The bartender couldn't help but laugh. This woman was really special. Miss, since you came to a bar, you should get yourself drunk. Don't worry so much. The bar was now playing nostalgic music with a touch of sadness. Xia Dong, who was already upset, became even more irritated. She stared at the cocktail in front of her for a minute and said to the bartender, Handsome, if I get drunk later and do something out of line, you must stop me. Xiao Tianxing walked in from the corridor and happened to hear her words. He asked curiously, What do you mean by something out of line? Xia Dong counted on her fingers and counted her crimes. For example, singing in public, hugging a handsome guy's thigh and following a handsome guy home. These are all counted as something out of line. Xiao Tianxing held back his laughter. Okay, I understand. Don't worry. When you get drunk, I'll be responsible for sending you home. Xiao Tianxing, you're such a good person. Xia Dong felt relieved and patted his shoulder heroically. Then it settled. She picked up the cocktail glass and gulped it down like a cow drinking water. The bartender was so shocked that his eyeballs were about to fall out. Xiao Tianxing was not surprised. In any case, he had seen too many strange things from this woman. Xia Dong burped and leaned on the bar counter. Her face quickly turned red and her vision started to blur. Her reaction was so fast. Xiao Tianxing poked her arm with his finger. Xia, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Xia Dong stood up. Her body was swaying as she pointed at Xiao Tianxing's nose and yelled, God, you stinking god. You don't like me, do you? Always playing with me like this. Are you done yet, you bastard? She roared so loudly that all the eyes in the bar gathered on her and Xiao Tianxing. Mr. Xiao? The bartender was dumbfounded and stammered, She seems to be drunk. Xiao Tianxing smiled bitterly. I know. Well, I didn't get to see a good show this time. I became a good show for everyone to see. What are you mumbling about? Let me tell you, damn God, don't think that I'm easy to bully. In my dictionary there's no such thing as admitting defeat. I won't surrender to you, you bastard. Xia Dong's eyes were blurred. She leaned in front of Xiao Tianxing and pointed at his nose as she cursed. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 82. Well, you're drunk. I'll take you home. Tell me, where do you live? Xiao Tianxing grabbed her hand that was waving in front of him and asked with a wry smile. She smiled and leaned closer to him, almost leaning into his arms. You want to know my address? Yes, tell me quickly. I'm very eager to know. If he didn't send her away, he would become the laughing stock of the whole A city. I'm not going to tell you. Allah is not a good person. She rolled her eyes and even spoke in a dialect. She reached out and pushed Xiao Tianxing away. She staggered back to her seat and rummaged in her handbag. What are you looking for? Tell me, I'll help you find it. Xiao Tianxing deeply felt that he had shot himself in the foot. Go away, I don't want you to care about me. Xia Dong pushed him away again. After searching for a long time, she still couldn't find what she wanted. In a fit of anger, she lifted her handbag upside down and poured all the things inside on the bar. She rummaged around and found her mobile phone and dialed a number. Hello, Bailey Han, I want to see you. Xiao Tianxing held his forehead, but the next second he revealed an evil smile. Was this a surprise? A sudden good show. When Xia Dong called, Bailey Han was eating with Bailey Yi at the dining table. The servant put his mobile phone to his ear. Seeing the caller ID, he hesitated for a moment and finally chose to answer. I'm Bailey Han. Hello, Bailey Han, I want to see you. What's the matter? A roar immediately came from the other side of the phone. Why are you talking so much nonsense? I asked you to come over, so come over. Bailey Han's eyes were burning with anger. He suppressed his anger in his voice. Xia Dong, do you know who you are talking to? I know you very well. You're Bailey Han, the president of the famous Shanghao group. I just want to see you. Come here quickly. Bailey Han gritted his teeth so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. That damned woman, was she crazy? She actually dared to yell at him. He hung up the phone angrily with a bang. When he looked up and saw Bailey Yi looking at him curiously, the corners of Bailey Han's mouth twitched and he said, Daddy is full. I'll go upstairs first. Bailey Yi nodded, indicating that he understood. Just as he reached the staircase, his phone rang again. It was Xia Dong again. Bailey Han decisively rejected the call. When he walked to the door, Xia Dong called for the fourth time. He angrily pressed the answer button and prepared to scold her, but all he heard was the sound of sobbing. She was crying very sadly. Bailey Han couldn't help but imagine her tearful face. His heart actually felt a little stuffy. Bailey Han took a deep breath and tried to make his voice sound as gentle as possible. Xia Dong, what happened? The moment she heard his voice, Xia Dong cried even louder. She was like a child who had been wronged. She cried non-stop, but she didn't say what had happened. Her crying disturbed his thoughts. He frowned and said, Xia Dong, don't cry. What happened? Her emotions seemed to have calmed down a little. She sobbed and complained, Bailey Han, I'm sorry. I've let you down. But, can you help me one more time? He couldn't understand what she was talking about at all, but he keenly grasped the word, help, and asked, tell me first. How do you want me to help you? I don't know. I don't know. She cried again and kept saying, I'm sorry. He sighed and asked her, where are you now? I'll come over and look for you. I don't know. There was a lot of noise on the phone. She seemed to have caught someone and questioned them. Then Bailey Han heard a man say, seductive charm. Following that, he heard her sobbing. A handsome guy said, I'm at seductive charm. Bailey Han's face darkened. He gritted his teeth. Are you drunk? No. No, I'm not drunk. Bailey Han's face darkened even more. He finally understood why she was acting like this. It turned out that she had gone to a bar and gotten herself drunk. He hadn't forgotten her terrible drinking habits. The last time she had gotten drunk at Seductive Charm, she had hugged his arm and wanted him to go with her. He gritted his teeth and said, "Wait for me at the bar, Gigai. I'll be right there." She answered Gigai with an "oh," and then asked curiously, "But why are you coming over?" Bailey Han's facial muscles twitched uncontrollably. He held the phone in one hand and put on his coat in the cloakroom with the other. He said, "Idiot, don't ask idiotic questions again. You're not allowed to hang up." She had stopped sobbing and protested softly, "I'm not an idiot." Bailey Han couldn't be bothered to leave her. He hurried downstairs, gave a few instructions to the servant, and then drove to Seductive Charm. He put on his Bluetooth headset. Through Xiaodong's phone he could hear the loud music in the bar. He also heard Xiaodong talking to someone else. "Go away. I'm not drinking your wine." Someone must have hit on that idiot and even tried to make her drink. Bailey Han looked terrible. "Xiaodong, don't drink other people's wine. Go to the bar and look for Xiao Tianxing." Bailey Han switched calls and called Xiao Tianxing's cell phone, but no one answered. He switched to Xiaodong's phone again. Just as he was about to speak, the other side suddenly hung up. He cursed, stepped on the accelerator, and the car rushed out like it was flying. Xiao Tianxing only went to the bathroom. When he came back he found Xiaodong surrounded by two men. One man was holding her waist and pouring wine into her mouth. The other man had snatched her phone and was waving it in his hands smugly. The two men were regulars in the bar. They were biological brothers and liked to have a threesome with women. Xiao Tianxing saw that the situation was not right and immediately rushed up. "Hey you two, this is Mississippi. She's my friend." "So she's Mr. Xiao's friend. Sorry to disturb you." The two men returned the phone and walked away reluctantly. As soon as the phone was returned to Xiaodong's hand, Bailey Han called. He scolded, "Idiot, didn't I tell you not to hang up? Why did you hang up?" Xiaodong pouted, feeling wronged. "I didn't hang up. Someone else hung up." Bailey Han said in a low voice, "Did you drink the wine that someone gave you?" "I took a sip." It was all that annoying man's fault. He kept putting the wine glass in front of her. She accidentally took a sip. "I'll be there soon. Sit down at the bar." Bailey Han had a headache. He did not know if she understood what he was saying to a drunk person. "Han, don't worry. I'll take good care of her." Xiao Tianxing took the phone from Xiaodong's hand and said. Hearing Xiao Tianxing's voice, Bailey Han was relieved. He said, "Tianxing, take her to the private room to rest. I'll be there soon." Xiao Tianxing hung up the phone and held Xiaodong's arm. Xia, come with me. I'll take you to rest." Xiaodong shook off his arm and looked at him warily. She shook her head like a rattled drum. "No, I want to wait for Bailey Han. Let's wait for him in the private room." "No, he told me to sit at the bar." Xiao Tianxing felt that he was unlucky. Actually, he only had himself to blame. He was the one who wanted to see her make a fool of herself. Xiaodong was on guard against Xiao Tianxing as if he was a bad guy. He didn't need Xiao Tianxing's help. He staggered to the bar and fell asleep on it. Xiao Tianxing accepted his fate and sat beside her to accompany her. Just then, three beautiful girls walked into the bar. The girl in the lead was wearing a cute dress with a bow on her head. When she saw Xiao Tianxing sitting at the bar, she skipped over. "Tianxing Gij, you're here tonight? Xingchen, are you guys here to have fun?" Xiao Tianxing stood up and stood in front of Xiaodong. He smiled and greeted the other two girls. "Hi, Fian." "Hey, the other beauty looks unfamiliar." Bai Meiwei was wearing a sexy red dress. She smiled and said, "Hello, I'm Bai Meiwei. I'm Xingchen's university classmate." Xiao Tianxing smiled politely. "Welcome, your expenses tonight will be on my tab. I hope you guys have fun." He turned his gaze to Su Xingchen. "Xingchen, the hall is too noisy. Why don't you guys go to the private room?" Su Xingchen blinked and smiled. "No need, the hall is lively. Tianxing Gij will go have fun first." The three girls held hands and chatted happily as they looked for a seat in the hall. Xiao Tianxing saw that they were no longer paying attention to him. He slowly moved away from Xiaodong and rubbed his chin. He had to tell Han about Su Xingchen at the bar to avoid any trouble. As he was thinking, Bailey Han walked in. An outstanding man like him attracted a lot of attention. Of course, this included Su Xingchen and the other two girls. Bai Meiwei nudged Su Xingchen with her elbow. "Xingchen, isn't that your Bailey Gij?" Bailey Fei Yen said, "It's really my cousin. What's he doing here?" Su Xingchen blinked her big beautiful eyes and quickly took out her phone. She pointed it at the bar and pretended to play with her phone. In reality, she took a picture of everything she saw. She saw Xiao Tianxing say something to Bailey Han and Bailey Han walk towards the private room. Then she saw Xiao Tianxing help a woman who was lying on the bar next to him up and walk towards the private room. The woman's back looked familiar. Her long hair covered her face and she couldn't see what she looked like. Bai Meiwei suddenly said, "Hey, that woman, she looks familiar." Su Xingchen looked at her. "Meiwei, are you talking about the woman who was helped away by Tianxing Gige?" "Yes." Bai Meiwei patted her forehead and frowned. "Her dressing is very familiar. Where have I seen her before?" "Ah, right, she came to the hospital this afternoon. She was called what was it? It seemed to be Xia Dong." "Yes, that's right, it's Xia Dong." "Xia Dong, it's actually her." Su Xingchen's big beautiful eyes emitted an eerie chill. She muttered in her heart. Where was Xiao Tianxing going with her? Just now, Xiao Tianxing had deliberately blocked her figure in order to protect her. Why did Brother Han appear here? Was it because of Xia Dong? Questions lingered in her mind. Half an hour had passed and Brother Han still didn't come out. Xia Dong also didn't come out. Su Xingchen's imagination began to bubble in her mind. She imagined Xia Dong and Brother Han in the same room. They even did this and that, their bodies entangled together. Her face was very ugly and she no longer had the mood to play. She said, "Fei Yin Meiwei, I suddenly feel a little uncomfortable. I'll go back first. You guys have fun." Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 83. Xingchen, are you okay? Do you want me to send you home? Bai Meiwei asked worriedly. "No need, I can go back by myself. I'm leaving first, bye-bye." Su Xingchen grabbed her handbag and hurriedly ran out. Without stopping for a moment, she ran to her car and got into the car. Out of nowhere she took out a small doll. She gnashed her teeth and fiercely kneaded the doll. Her eyes burst with anger, making her face, under the dim light, distort into a terrible shape. In the VIP room, Xia Dong was lying on the sofa, fast asleep. Bailey Han frowned and bent down to pat her red cheeks. "Xia Dong, wake up." "Ugh." She impatiently turned over and muttered, "I'm so sleepy, don't disturb me." The veins on Bailey Han's forehead throbbed and he increased the strength of his hands. "Wake up." She finally opened her misty eyes and asked foolishly, "Who are you?" "Bailey Han." He squeezed these 3 words out from between his teeth. "Bailey Han." Her eyes quickly became misty and she threw herself into his embrace. She sobbed, "Bailey Han, I'm sorry." Bailey Han's entire body froze. He wanted to push her away, but his hands didn't listen to him and he let her cry on his chest. After a long time, he put his hand on her back and patted her gently. His voice had a gentleness that he didn't notice. "Tell me what happened." "Bailey Han. Don't hate me. I had no choice." Xia Dong lied on his chest and sobbed as she complained. Even she didn't know what she was saying. "What did you do to make me hate you?" "Drink and I'll tell you." Xia Dong suddenly raised her head, her beautiful eyes shining with a charming light. She pointed at the expensive wine on the wine rack and said, "Drink and I'll tell you." Bailey Han facepalmed. How could he take a drunk person so seriously? He must be crazy. Xia Dong pushed him away and stumbled to the wine rack. She took a bottle from the top and held it in her hands, giggling. "If you don't want to drink, I'll drink." She uncorked the bottle, picked up the bottle and poured it into her mouth. Bailey Han strode forward and snatched the bottle, but he was still a step too late. She gulped down a few mouthfuls and stuck out her tongue pitifully. "It's so spicy. Who asked you to be so picky? You chose the strongest wine. It would be strange if it wasn't spicy." Bailey Han's face darkened as he stretched out his arm. "Give me the bottle." "No, this is mine." Xia Dong hugged him tightly as if he was a treasure. Leaning against the wall, she pointed at the wine on the wine rack and giggled. "Those are yours?" Bailey Han's face turned even uglier. "You asked for it." He walked forward and forcefully snatched the bottle from her arms. She hugged him tightly, kicked him, and bit him with her teeth like an angry little wild cat. He was worried that he would hurt her, so he could only control his strength. However, his strength was too weak and he couldn't subdue her at all. In the struggle, the wine in the bottle spilled all over the two of them, and his hand accidentally touched the softness of her chest. The beautiful touch made Bailey Han feel as if he had been electrocuted. He quickly retracted his hand and coughed awkwardly to cover up his embarrassment. She was drunk and didn't care about his actions at all. She gasped for breath and said, "This is mine." "Don't fight with me," he said helplessly. "Okay, I won't fight with you. You can sleep with it. Where do you live? I'll take you home." She was like a frightened little beast shrinking into the corner. I don't want to go home. Brother Shen will be worried. The babies will be worried. You know that they will be worried. Bailey Han couldn't wait to pry open her head and see what was inside. Why was she so drunk? If she didn't understand, then she was very sober. If she was sober, then she was very confused. Suddenly his eyes narrowed. Wait, who is Brother Shen? Mika Kito, he, the man who touched your head outside the kindergarten? She was at a loss. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Bailey Han gritted his teeth. Don't frown. She giggled and stretched her fingers to his face, trying to rub the wrinkles between his eyebrows. Look, I have a truck full of troubles, but I'm not frowning. As long as I drink, all my troubles will be solved. Bailey Han, she wasn't frowning. She was just hugging him and crying. She shoved the bottle at him and said, Here you go. Bailey Han quickly snatched the bottle and put it on the wine rack. She pouted unhappily. I asked you to drink, but you didn't drink. I don't want to drink. Bailey Han supported her stumbling body. Since you don't want to go home, you can stay here for the night. Go take a bath. Help me take a bath. She hugged him and rubbed her body against him restlessly. Brother Shin, can you help me take a bath? Bailey Han's accumulated anger suddenly exploded. He grabbed her wrist and said fiercely, Damn woman, look carefully. Who am I? She giggled. Brother Shin? Idiot, are you trying to drive me to my grave? Bailey Han abruptly picked her up and carried her on his shoulder. He strode into the bathroom and threw her into the bathtub with a bang. He turned on the shower and used the cold water to wash her skin. Are you a little more awake? Do you know who I am? Brother Shen, you're so fierce. She curled up in the bathtub pitifully and looked at him with her big watery eyes, accusing him of being cruel. You're really driving me to my grave. The veins on Bailey Han's forehead were throbbing. He pulled her out of the bathtub and kissed her delicate lips. He bit and sucked hard to vent his anger. She pushed his chest weakly, but he grabbed her hands and locked them behind her back. He hugged her tightly in his arms and kissed her deeply, punishing her. He only let go of her when she moaned in pain. His dark eyes stared into her misty ones and he asked in a hoarse voice, Woman, do you know who I am now? Brother Shin. She muttered pitifully. You bit me, Brother Shin, does she only have Mika Kito in her heart? Bailey Han was angry and jealous. Looking at her lips that had become red and swollen because of his rough actions, he had the urge to press her down and punish her. Damn it. He cursed and flung her away. He threw her into the bathtub and left, slamming the door behind him. He walked quickly to the hall and sat by the bar. The anger in his heart was still uncontrollable. What's wrong? Why do you look so upset? Did that little wild cat scratch you? Xiao Tianxing sat beside him and gestured for the bartender to pour a glass of wine and put it in front of Bailey Han. Don't mention her. Bailey Han took a sip of wine in annoyance and said coldly, Could it be that I guessed correctly? Xiao Tianxing supported his head with one hand and smiled lazily. She's a very interesting woman. Only she would dare to treat you like this. Bailey Han finished the wine in his glass with a sullen face. The bartender immediately poured him another glass. Xiao Tianxing saw his annoyed look and showed a rare kindness. He stopped teasing him and changed the topic. When are you and Yun Qian planning to get married? Xiao Tianxing didn't know that at this moment, Bailey Han was even more annoyed by this topic. His expression became even worse. He said coldly, I want to be alone for a while. Xiao Tianxing shrugged. All right then. You can be alone for a while. But don't drink too much. I'll get someone to help you drive later. Bailey Han nodded. His long and slender fingers picked up the wine glass and poured another glass of wine after finishing the glass. They hadn't contacted Yun Qian for a week. He was also seriously thinking about what she had said before. What did she want? He didn't know how much wine he had drunk, but his mind was still clear. He felt that he should go back and check on that idiot Xia Dong. What if she drowned herself in the bathtub? In the bathroom of the VIP room, Xia Dong leaned against the edge of the bathtub and fell asleep. Her clothes were pulled open, revealing a patch of spring. The soaked clothes wrapped around her body and didn't cover her at all. Instead, it outlined her curves and made her even more charming. She slept peacefully with a comfortable smile on her face. She seemed to be having a beautiful dream. As if possessed, he reached out and rubbed his fingers on her face. He slid his fingers from her smooth forehead to her sexy red lips and gently caressed them. She was disturbed in her sleep. She groaned impatiently and rubbed her cheek against the back of his hand. He chuckled. Tianxing was right. You really are like a little wild cat baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. He put his arm around her waist and said in a low voice, "It's not comfortable to sleep here. I'll take you back to bed." Xiaodong woke up at that moment. However, she pretended not to wake up. She closed her eyes and lay on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. After being intoxicated by the alcohol, she became abnormally clear-headed. The person hugging her was Bailey Han. Her chance had come again. She was so excited that she almost couldn't control her emotions. She pretended to wake up slowly, still pretending to be drunk. She hugged his neck and murmured, "Bailey Han?" Bailey Han looked down at the person in his arms and smiled. "You finally know who I am." Xiaodong hugged him tightly and said softly, "Bailey Han, you're so nice." He thought that she was still drunk, so he didn't argue with her. He put her in front of the bed, and her wet clothes immediately wet the carpet under her feet. "Stand firm. I'll get you a towel." He was actually drunk as well. He was swaying as he walked, but his mind was still clear. He took the towel and let her wipe herself. She pouted and said pitifully, "No, I want you to help me wipe myself." Xiaodong couldn't help but shiver when she made such a coquettish sound. Bailey Han was already used to her torment. He sighed helplessly and really helped her wipe herself. Xiaodong was like a puppet. She let him take off her wet clothes and wrapped herself in a towel. "Bailey Han, why aren't you married yet?" she asked curiously as she tilted her head. Bailey Han frowned. He started to feel dizzy. "You don't have to care about my matters. I think it's not easy for Su Yunqian. She loves you so much." Xiaodong felt guilty that she stole his seed and caused Bailey Han to betray Su Yunqian. She wanted to make up for it. Bailey Han was also drunk. He unknowingly said what was on his mind. "I love her and have thought of marrying her, but I don't know why, but I've been feeling more and more tired recently. It's like there's something missing between us." Men are all the same. When they're tired of it, they abandon it. I'm not. You've already made it very obvious. Add. Xinwu 799. Chapter 84. The mocking smile on her face stung his eyes. He wanted to stop her chattering mouth. So, he suddenly pulled her into his arms and kissed her lips. The beautiful taste made him sink into it. He couldn't extricate himself. His initial goal had changed. He enjoyed the feeling of kissing her. It wasn't known who touched the other's body first, but they rolled onto the bed. Although Bailey Han was already drunk, he was very clear about what he was doing. He suddenly wanted to indulge himself for once, so he didn't force himself to suppress it. He felt strange. Every time he was with Yun Qian, he would restrain himself at the last moment when he was aroused. He couldn't have her. Why did he have Xiaodong so naturally? They were like two lonely souls that fit together perfectly. They panted and moaned. The whole room was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. This time Bailey Han woke up first. Xiaodong lay naked in his arms. He rubbed his eyebrows. He had a headache. He remembered clearly what happened last night. He was the one who initiated it. Just as Bailey Han was having a headache, the door of the room was suddenly slammed open. A man barged in aggressively. Behind him were the bodyguards who couldn't stop him. Bailey Han quickly pulled the blanket over Xiaodong. He looked at the man who barged in. His eyes were burning with anger. "Get him out." When Beitang Shin saw the scene on the bed, he flew into a rage and rushed forward. When the bodyguards heard Bailey Han's order, they rushed forward to stop Beitang Shin without any regard for their lives. However, they were beaten down by him with a few punches. Bailey Han didn't stay idle. He quickly put on his clothes and raised his leg to block Mika Kito's fatal blow. Mika Kito didn't hit him. He punched again. The fierce wind from his fist came. In just a few minutes, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. "Bailey Han, you bastard. I'm going to kill you." Mika Kito gnashed his teeth. His eyes were bloodshot. He was violent and bloodthirsty. His every move was ruthless and fatal. Bailey Han had never met such a strong opponent. He didn't dare to be careless. He pursed his lips and his eyes were cold. "What's your relationship with Xiaodong? You don't deserve to know." Mika Kito punched his nose. "You damn bastard. You've hurt Xia so deeply. How can you bear to hurt her?" Bailey Han reached out to block his fist. His face was cold. "This is between me and her. You don't have to interfere. Someone like you doesn't deserve her." The two of them put their arms together. They were evenly matched. One was cold and domineering while the other was ruthless and heartless. They fought each other with their eyes and a strong aura enveloped them. Xiao Tianxing, who had heard the news, came over and saw them fighting. He gestured for the bodyguards to leave. He slowly walked over to the two of them and said, "You two, let's sit down and talk. It's not good to scare Xiaodong." Bailey Han and Mika Keto turned their heads at the same time and looked at Xiaodong on the bed. Xiaodong hid under the quilt and covered her head tightly. She didn't expect Brother Shin to see this scene. She was so embarrassed and didn't know how to face him. She could only hide like an ostrich. Beitang Shin's anger flared up even more. He couldn't wait to skin Bailey Han alive. "Xia, did this bastard force you to do this? Don't worry, I'll get justice for you." Xiaodong wanted to kill herself with a piece of tofu. She gritted her teeth, pulled the quilt away from her head and said clearly, "Brother Shin, let him go." "Xia?" Mika Keto looked at Xiaodong in disbelief. Xiaodong met his angry gaze firmly and repeated, "Brother Shin, let him go." With a loud bang, Beitang Shin's fist smashed on the glass table beside Bailey Han, and a crack instantly appeared on the table. Beitang Shin glared at Bailey Han fiercely, as if he wanted to stare a hole into Bailey Han before he felt relieved. He squeezed out a word from between his teeth, "Get lost." Bailey Han straightened his clothes that were messed up by Mika Keto's claw. Even so, his movements were arrogant and dignified, without any trace of embarrassment. He looked at Xiaodong and said calmly, "I'll give you an explanation." Xiaodong hurriedly said, "No need. Let's forget what happened last night." Bailey Han looked at her deeply and left calmly. Only Xiaodong and Mika Keto were left in the room. Xiaodong immediately felt a strong pressure. It was like a mountain pressing down on her, making it hard for her to breathe. She shrunk her neck and said dryly, "Brother Shin, can you go out for a while?" Mika Keto's thin lips were tightly pursed. Her eyes were as dark as the sky before a storm, terrifyingly cold. She timidly called out again, "Brother Shin." Mika Keto's body stiffened. She clenched her fists and tried to control her anger. She said as calmly as she could, "Okay, I'll be outside. Call me if you need anything." In the bathroom, Xiaodong looked at herself in the mirror. She was in a mess, especially the bruises on her neck. She pulled a long face and was about to cry. After taking her time to wash up, she walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a bathrobe and found a dress on the bed. Then she heard Mika Keto knocking on the door. "Xia, I got someone to buy a dress. It's on the bed. Try it on." "Okay. Thank you, Brother Shin." Xiaodong changed into the dress. It fit her very well, as if it was specially designed for her. However, the bruises on her neck were very obvious. It was obvious at a glance what had happened. She opened the door awkwardly and almost didn't dare to look at Mika Keto, who was waiting at the door. Mika Keto's eyes fell on the bruises on her neck. His pupils constricted and a cold storm swept across his face. He clenched his fists and suppressed his anger. He took off his jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders, barely covering the bruises. "Let's go home." As usual, Mika Keto wanted to hold her hand, but she gently avoided it. Mika Keto's hand fell to the air in disappointment. Xiaodong avoided contact with him because she felt guilty. Mika Keto misunderstood. He thought that Bailey Han had hurt her deeply and made her feel insecure. Mika Keto's heart suddenly ached. Besides the heartache, there was also a deep-seated hatred for Bailey Han. Mika Keto considerately opened the car door for her. She smiled and sat quietly in the furthest corner of the car. If it was in the past, she would definitely sit with him in the driver's seat. She would chat with him and smile brightly. Seeing her acting strangely, Mika Keto's hatred for Bailey Han deepened. He also blamed himself. If he had found her missing earlier, she wouldn't have been hurt by Bailey Han. When they got home, Baobao and Gigai had already gone to kindergarten. Mika Keto sent her back to her room. "Don't go to work today. I've applied for leave for you." She rubbed her fingers. "I'm fine. I have to review the manuscript today. I can't be absent." "Then I'll ask your assistant to send the manuscript to your email. You can review it at home too." Mika Keto's attitude was firm. Xiaodong couldn't argue with him, so she could only nod in agreement. Mika Keto indeed asked Lilith to send the manuscript to her email. He also called the Human Resources Department to apply for leave. Xiaodong belatedly realized a problem. If Mika Keto applied for leave for her, would her colleagues have any bad thoughts? However, now was not the time to worry about this. She had more troublesome things to deal with. She held the glass of warm water that Mika Keto poured for her. She hesitated for a while and said, "Brother Shin, what happened last night?" Mika Keto interrupted her. He didn't want her to recall the bad memories. Don't mention what happened last night. You should rest first. I'm going out for a while. I'll be back soon. Xiaodong quickly grabbed his arm and said anxiously, Brother Shin, promise me that you won't hurt Bailey Han. She knew what he was capable of. He definitely wouldn't let Bailey Han off. As if a cold wind had passed through, Mika Kito's eyes quickly turned cold. You're protecting him? No, Brother Shin. You've just arrived in China. Don't stir up trouble so easily. You know that Bailey's family has some influence in a city. Promise me that you won't get into a conflict with them, okay? There was an indecipherable emotion in his eyes. I promise you that I won't hurt him. But he wouldn't let him off either. Xiaodong let go of his arm and forced a smile. Then come back early. I'll wait for you to have lunch together. Okay. He rubbed her hair gently. Mika Kito walked into the elevator and called Jiang Dao. Jiang Dao, help me check Bailey Han's background. I want to know all his business partners and competitors within 2 days. After hanging up the phone, Mika Kito's lips curled into a sinister smile. He had only promised Xia that he wouldn't hurt Bailey Han, but he didn't say that he wouldn't destroy his career. For a proud man like him, destroying his career was equivalent to destroying his self-esteem. It would be more effective than hurting him directly. Boa Real Estate, a company that was on the verge of bankruptcy because of the shoddy construction, suddenly grew stronger overnight. It was rumored that this company had the backing of 2 major conglomerates, Italy and Japan. From the chairman to the senior management, there was a complete change in personnel. The current chairman was Japanese and his name was Mika Kito. Not only did Boa Real Estate invest in real estate, but it also began to enter the gaming industry and the clothing industry. It acquired several companies that were relatively competitive. Boa Real Estate and its subsidiaries and branches were officially renamed Boa Group, with Mika Kito as the group's CEO. From then on, Boa Group became Xinghao Group's biggest competitor. Mika Kito's name immediately swept the streets and alleys. He became the new favorite of the media and the latest target of the socialites. He and Bailey Han were ranked at the top of the list of men that women in a city wanted to marry the most. Bailey Han's office. Assistant Lu Zihao placed a thick stack of Mika Kito's documents on Bailey Han's desk and said, In just a week, Mika Kito has created so much influence. President, this man is not simple. Bailey Han's eyes flashed and he said coldly, He is the head of the Japanese Sanka Group and the adopted son of Tomac, the godfather of the Italian mafia. How can he be simple? Cold sweat broke out on Lu Zihao's forehead. All the information he collected was after Mika Kito's name was cleared. He didn't know that he had a background in the underworld. President, the downstream manufacturers that have been working with us have reported that Boa Group will give them higher profits. I think they are a little restless. Bailey Han threw the documents on the desk with a bang, his whole body exuding an oppressive aura. That group of people are businessmen who only care about profits. They only have profits in their eyes and only rich profits can bind them. It's normal for them to have ideas. But President, if our partner company betrays us and works with the Boa Group, then we will suffer a lot of losses. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 85. Bailey Han tapped his slender fingers on the table and frowned. Zihao, aren't we thinking about launching a new generation of products? We can use this as an opportunity to change the storage model and new packaging materials. His lips curved into a cold smile. It's not that they've turned their backs on us, but that we're going to change and abandon them. Mika Kito, what other tricks do you have up your sleeve? Just use them. Just as Bailey Han was busy dealing with Mika Kito, Su Yunqian came to his office with an exquisite lunchbox. Yunqian, why are you here? Bailey Han came back from a meeting and saw her. He froze for a moment and adjusted the tie around his neck. Have you been waiting for a long time? No, I just got here too. Su Yunqian stood in front of him and gently untied his tie. We haven't seen each other for a few days. Don't you miss me? Bailey Han looked at her. You know I've been very busy these past few days. She smiled. I was just joking. I know you forget to eat when you're busy, so I made some soup for you. She pulled him to sit on the sofa and placed the lunchboxes in front of him one by one. There were his favorite braised pork ribs, ginseng chicken soup, stir-fried vegetables, and a small box of fruit salad. The dishes looked very attractive. Bailey Han tasted them one by one and drank half a bowl of soup. There was a gentle smile in his eyes. Yunqian, it's been hard on you. You don't have to be polite with me. I'm happy that you like it. Su Yunqian smiled and fed him a piece of fruit. Bailey Han smiled and opened his mouth. She put the fruit in his mouth and looked at him intently and affectionately. Han, forget what I said that night. Let's be together, okay? Xia Dong's words suddenly popped up in his mind. I think Su Yunxian doesn't have it easy. She loves you so much. Bailey Han reached out and held her hand. He smiled. Today we'll go to the kindergarten to pick up Xiao Yi and go out for dinner. What do you want to eat? French food? Or Italian? Su Yunxian leaned into his arms and said gently, let's ask for Xiao Yi's opinion. He stroked her hair and replied absent-mindedly, After sending off Su Yunxian, Bailey Han felt a little stuffy in his chest. Sitting in front of his desk, he couldn't read a single word on the document. Xia Dong's face kept popping up in his mind. He had said that he would give her an explanation, but he hadn't contacted her for a week. Would she think that he was someone who would abandon her after eating her? However, what right did he have to make that promise? Bailey Han pinched his eyebrows helplessly. After hesitating for a while, he still dialed Xia Dong's office number. Hello, I'm Xia Dong. Who are you? Bailey Han. Xia Dong's hands trembled, but her voice was still calm. Mr. Bailey, what's the matter? Bailey Han paused. I've been quite busy this week. He considered it as an explanation for why he hadn't contacted her this week. Xia Dong put her hand to her forehead. So? If you have time, we can talk about what happened that night. There's no need. Xia Dong quickly interrupted him. Mr. Bailey, we were both drunk that night. Just treat it as a misunderstanding and let's forget about it. Bailey Han frowned. He was a person who dared to take responsibility for his actions. If I remember correctly, I was the one who initiated it that night. Xia Dong had a headache. She rubbed her temples. Mr. Bailey, although you initiated it, I didn't reject you. So in the end, we were both willing parties. Just like last time, let's forget about it at the same time. Isn't that good? Bailey Han was a little frustrated. She wasn't wrong, but he subconsciously felt that there was a fundamental difference between this time at the bar and the time at the hotel. At the hotel he wasn't conscious, but at the bar he could clearly distinguish. So he didn't know what he wanted to do. If Xia Dong knew that Bailey Han, a decisive person in the business world, was also conflicted and confused, she would definitely laugh at him. Unfortunately, she couldn't see the way his eyebrows were knitted together. There was no response from the other end of the phone for a long time. Xia Dong raised her eyebrows and said, Mr. Bailey, if there's nothing else, I won't keep you company. I still have a very important meeting. Goodbye. Without waiting for his reply, she hung up the phone. Her actions were swift and decisive without hesitation. Bailey Han was so angry that his face turned green. Before Bailey Han could find a chance to have a good talk with her, his biggest business partner in the United States suddenly broke the contract. He had no choice but to rush to the United States to negotiate with them. It was during this time that Xia Dong was once again embroiled in a scandal and became a public figure. Someone dug up a video of Xia Dong that went viral on the internet 5 years ago. In the video, Xia Dong was pathetically pressed to the ground by several men. Her clothes were disheveled and she looked panicked. Some nosy media outlets compiled a compilation of news about her from that year, especially the incident with Bailey's 2 sons. They described it vividly as if they were there in person. However, just as this compilation was sent to the TV station, it was banned because of one sentence from media mogul Xiao Qifeng. Of course, Xiao Qifeng wouldn't watch his good friend get involved in a scandal again. At this moment, Bailey Han was negotiating with a business partner in the United States. He didn't know what had happened to him and Xia Dong. Xia Dong, on the other hand, was not so lucky. After one video was deleted, 1,000 more popped up. She could not help it. Not only that, there was also new news that she was pregnant before marriage. She already had a pair of twins. Miss Xia, may I ask if the video on the internet is real? Have you really been violated? Miss Xia, who is the father of the 2 children? Miss Xia. Xia Dong had just walked out of the company building when a large group of reporters surrounded her like a tide. The dazzling flashes kept flashing. She walked forward without saying a word, trying to squeeze through the crowd. A man wearing black-rimmed glasses stubbornly blocked her way and asked a very sharp question. Miss Xia, is the father of the children the man in the video? The crowd exploded. This was earth-shattering news. The editor-in-chief of a famous magazine was humiliated and had the child of a rapist. Sorry, I can't tell you. Xia Dong pushed the black-rimmed man away with a cold face. The man fell to the ground and angrily accused Xia Dong. Miss Xia, even if I tell you the truth, you shouldn't hurt people. Sir, even if you want to frame me, please do it properly. Xia Dong snorted and looked at the tag on the man's chest. She said, I'm very familiar with the reporters from the Daily News. There is no one named Wang Jin. The man named Wang Jin shouted, Miss Xia, do you mean that I'm not a reporter from the Daily News? I have a reporter's certificate. Don't divert everyone's attention and don't pour dirty water on me. Yes, Miss Xia, please don't divert the topic. Miss Xia, why did you leave China for Japan 5 years ago? Miss Xia, all kinds of questions swept over like a tide and surrounded her. The scene was in chaos. Suddenly, a magnetic male voice was heard. Hello, friends from the media. Outside the encirclement, a handsome man in expensive casual clothes, with oversized sunglasses on the bridge of his nose, leaned against a flashy red sports car and leisurely crossed his arms. Bailey Yun. The reporters left Xia Dong and quickly moved to the handsome man's side. He was the second son of Bailey and changed girlfriends every 2 to 3 days. The gossip said that he was recently dating Lin Weiwei, the movie queen. There were as many gossips as the stars in the sky. Naturally, they were more valuable than Xia Dong's scandal. As soon as Bailey Yun appeared, Xia Dong quickly left. When she drove away, she happened to see Bailey Yun take off his sunglasses. Under the bombardment of the reporters, he smiled elegantly and spoke with assurance. His every movement exuded a charming charm. From time to time, he threw 2 hot coquettish glances at the female reporters. Please take pictures of me to make me more handsome. The female reporters' hearts were suddenly in chaos and they screamed. Before Xia Dong arrived home, Bailey Yun called. Fox, thank you so much for today. If you hadn't blocked for me, I would have been eaten alive. Bailey Yun rarely spoke in a very serious tone. It's good that you're okay. This time things are very strange. The video appeared overnight and caught people off guard. It seems that someone is deliberately messing with you. Be careful. I will deal with the video as soon as possible. Okay, I understand. She could also see that someone wanted to make a big fuss about what happened 5 years ago. Unfortunately, she was no longer the Xia Dong of 5 years ago. She would not be defeated so easily. This time, Gigai and the baby's identity was completely exposed. It might bring danger to them. She had to be more careful in the future. As soon as she hung up Bailey Yun's call, Mika Kito called. His voice was very anxious. Xia, where are you? I was just about to pick you up, but there was a traffic jam on the way. Xia Dong's company was in the North 3rd Ring Road, while his company was in the West 3rd Ring Road. When he realized that something was wrong, he rushed to her place, but he was still 1 step too late. Don't worry, Brother Shin. I'm fine now. But I'm worried that there might be trouble at the kindergarten and my aunt's side. I've already asked someone to deal with it. Jiang Dao has already gone to the kindergarten to pick up the baby and Gigai. Then I'm relieved. Xia, don't worry. I will solve this matter as soon as possible. As long as the mastermind was not found, Xia Dong and the children would be in danger. He had to use the power of the gang. In the study of Mika Kito's villa, a hacker's fingers were rapidly typing on the keyboard. Boss, the other party is using a foreign server. Unless we break the firewall in England, we won't be able to find the other party's IP address. Beiteng Shin furrowed his brows. Then a smile appeared on his lips. There is one person who can break it. Soon Xia Xiaobao was brought into the study. He was holding a small white notebook in his arms, and his large black-framed sunglasses almost covered half of his face. He raised his chin coolly. Uncle Shen, leave it to me. I will definitely find the big bad guy who framed my mommy from the internet. One of his subordinates immediately carried him to a high chair. He sat on it with a serious expression. His small fingers moved quickly, and lines of code quickly slid across the computer screen. Suddenly he stopped. What's the matter? Mika Kito leaned over to look at Xiao Bao's computer screen. Xiao Bao raised his eyebrows and said, Uncle Shin, the software can't handle this line of password. Look at what happens when I treat the password as a target file. He pressed the enter key, and an image immediately appeared on the computer screen. Mika Kito's eyes narrowed. Killer whale. This guy is one of the top 10 most wanted cybercriminals. Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 86. Xiao Bao rubbed his chin. Give me half an hour. I'll find out his IP address. With that, he buried himself in work and continued to think of ways to break the trap set by the other party. Half an hour later he finally got the answer while sweating profusely. The video address is from Birmingham, England. Xiao Bao, well done. Mika Kito rubbed his head happily. Leave the rest to me. Mika Kito made a few phone calls and got in touch with Tomac. Tomac attached great importance to this matter and mobilized a large number of people to search for information related to the killer whale. After a night of hard work, all the videos on the internet had been deleted. All the media had also warned them to ban the reports that should be banned. However, there were still many rumors that were unfavorable to Xiaodong. Even her colleagues looked at her strangely. However, Xiaodong didn't care at all. She went to work and picked up her children. After the baptism 5 years ago, she already had a good mental fortitude. Mika Kito couldn't hold back anymore. How could he bear to let the woman he had doted on for 5 years suffer such a big grievance? Therefore he planned a play that would make Bailey Han fly into a rage. Finally it was time to get off work. Xiaodong rubbed her brows when Mika Kito suddenly called her. Xia, I'll wait for you downstairs. I'll take you somewhere tonight. Huh. Okay, I'll be right down. Xiaodong quickly packed her things, grabbed her handbag and walked downstairs. Before she entered the elevator, Bailey Yun called her. Xia, I'm already downstairs. Come down when you're done. Xiaodong was stunned. Fox, are you taking me home? Bailey Yun laughed. My purpose is very obvious, isn't it? Although the video incident had been resolved and there were no large number of reporters surrounding her, he was still worried about her. Xiaodong heaved a sigh of relief. Fox, thank you, but I already have an appointment with someone. Male or female? Bailey Yun was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He immediately stood on end. A man. What's his name? Bailey Yun immediately roared furiously. Xiaodong's ears were ringing. Mika Kito, a friend from Japan. Bailey Yun scolded angrily. Mika Kito? Was that the nouveau riche? Xia, the Japanese are not good people. Don't be fooled by him. Xiaodong wiped her sweat. Fox, you worry too much. He and I have been old friends for many years. Old friend? Bailey Yun felt even more threatened. He couldn't wait to crawl out of the phone to Xiaodong and pull her back by the ear. He gritted his teeth and said, Xiaodong, do you really want to go? Xiaodong was already in the elevator. She covered her mouth with one hand and said in a low voice, Fox, I'm in the elevator now. It's not convenient for me to talk. I'll hang up first. Bye-bye. Wait a minute, hello? There was only a busy tone left. Bailey Yun was so angry that he gritted his teeth. How dare you hang up on me, you'd *M woman. Bailey Yun couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. He sat in the car and waited. He decided to carry Xiaodong into the car before Mika Kito did. He would take her away. Xiaodong left the building. She was afraid that Bailey Yun would discover her, so she acted like a thief. She used her bag to cover her face and ran in search of Mika Kito's car. After a few steps, someone grabbed her arm. She was startled. Mika Kito felt sorry for her. She thought that she was still worried about the reporters. She said gently, What are you thinking about? Didn't you notice me behind your back? It's okay. Let's go. Xiaodong was worried that Bailey Yun would suddenly appear from a corner. She quickly pulled Mika Kito to his car. When they got into the car, Xiaodong took out her phone and sent a message to Bailey Yun. Fox, thank you for picking me up. But I have something to do tonight. I can't go with you. Bailey Yun had just finished reading the message when he saw a Bentley drive past him. Xiaodong and Mika Kito were sitting in the driver's seat. He immediately flew into a rage. His unlucky phone carried his anger and was thrown out of the car window. It was crushed by the car behind. Mika Kito took her to a 5-star hotel. There was a red carpet under their feet and imported roses were placed on both sides of the carpet. A huge heart-shaped crystal chandelier hung above their heads. A handsome pianist was playing beautiful and romantic music. A handsome waiter in a tuxedo led the two of them to the only table in the hall. Xiaodong looked around and said curiously, That's strange. Why is there no one here? Mika Kito smiled but did not say anything. He had booked the entire hotel and did not want to be disturbed. The mellow red wine was slowly poured into a sparkling and translucent crystal wine glass. Beitang Xin raised the wine glass, his eyes brimming with a doting smile. Xiaodong also raised her glass and smiled as she clinked glasses with him. They were eating French food. The dishes were served one by one and it was very time-consuming. Xiaodong supported her head with one hand and smiled. Brother Xin, this place is very beautiful. I didn't expect you to be so romantic. She was used to seeing his tough image and was surprised to see his romantic side. Mika Kito frowned deliberately. What? Have I always been an old-fashioned and rigid person in your eyes? Xiaodong smiled mischievously. I didn't say that. You said it yourself. Obviously that's what you meant. Mikakito shook his head. The smile on his face was gentle and doting. Finally, at the last moment, the waiter served the last dish. He opened the lid and revealed a red velvet box. Mikakito opened the box and revealed a huge diamond ring. It was dazzling. He knelt on one knee in front of Xiaodong and looked at her affectionately. "Xia, please marry me. I will definitely make you happy." Xiaodong was too shocked. Although Mikakito had always been very good to her and even Yisiki joked that he was pursuing her, she had always treated him as an older brother and had never thought about this. She trembled and stood up in a panic. Her movements were so violent that she almost knocked over the chair. She said in a panic, "I'm sorry, Brother Shin. I can't." Mikakito's body stiffened, but he did not give up. Instead, he took Xiaodong's hand and put the diamond ring on her middle finger. "Brother Shin, don't do this." Xiaodong wanted to withdraw her hand, but he held it tightly. Mikakito calmly took her hand and kissed it gently. "Xia, I'll give you some time to think about it. During this time you will keep the ring for me." "Brother Shin," Xiaodong wanted to take the ring off her finger, but he held it tightly. "Xia, don't be in a hurry to make a decision." His voice was still gentle and his expression was calm, but his whole body was full of pressure. Xiaodong felt helpless. Mikakito took her silent consent. He smiled and put his arm around her waist as they walked out of the hotel. As soon as they walked out, a group of reporters surrounded them. Countless flashes flashed as they took photos of the two of them being intimate. "Mr. Beiding, I heard that you proposed to Miss Xia at a 5-star hotel. Is this true?" Xiaodong reacted abruptly to the sudden change. She looked at Mikakito in disbelief. Mikakito did not answer. He held her waist tightly with one hand to prevent her from doing anything. He held her hand with the other and raised it slightly. The sharp-eyed reporters immediately noticed the big diamond ring on Xiaodong's finger. They aimed their cameras at her hand and snapped frantically. Xiaodong's first reaction was to take off the ring. Mikakito suddenly flipped her body over and kissed her hard on the lips. Oh, this is too explosive." The reporters quickly took photos. They did not expect the scandal-ridden editor-in-chief of a fashion magazine to catch a rich bachelor so quickly. Xiaodong raised her arm and tried to slap his cheek, but he quickly caught hold of her arm. A trace of hurt flashed across his eyes as he suddenly lifted her up in his arms. His assistant immediately opened up a path for the reporters. Just like that, Beitang Shin openly carried Xiaodong into the Bentley. The reporters were dumbfounded, but they quickly reacted. They thought this was just a couple's little fun and were indescribably excited. Mikakito's assistant said to the reporters, "Please report today's matter truthfully. Our CEO will pay for all the expenses." His eyes flashed coldly and he suddenly said, "I think everyone knows what to say and what not to say. If anyone dares to say anything, he might not be able to hold a camera for the rest of his life." Everyone present was shocked by the assistant's murderous words and nodded furiously. It was rumored that Mikakito had a mafia background. It seemed that the rumors were true. In the Bentley, Mikakito had just put Xiaodong down when she swung her hand at him. This time he did not dodge. Instead he let her slap his face. The sound of the slap was loud and clear. Looking at the glaring red mark on his face, Xiaodong was stunned. Her anger was mixed with a tinge of heartache. She decided to hide as far away from him as possible. She turned her head and ignored him. She forced back the tears in her eyes. Her eyes were red just like a rabbit's. Mikakito looked at her and started the car without saying a word. After more than 10 minutes he stopped the car by the roadside. She still ignored him. Her thin shoulders shrunk together as she leaned against the car door. She faced him with the back of her head, silently venting her sadness and anger. "Are you still angry with me?" Mikakito leaned over. He reached out his hand to touch her head, but she avoided him. He leaned back against the seat. His heart ached. At first he only wanted to help her get out of the scandal. But later he had selfish motives. He wanted to use this opportunity to test her feelings for him. In the end he failed. Then he had to change his direction. He hid his selfish motives and said, Xia, I only wanted to help you. I didn't want you to be wronged." Xiaodong maintained her original position. She did not turn her head or speak. Mikakito rubbed his forehead helplessly and admitted everything. "I was the one who released the news to the media. I only wanted them to witness my proposal." Xiaodong's shoulders trembled slightly. She tried to keep her voice cold. "So, you didn't tell me anything and made me stand in front of all the reporters like a fool? So, you ignored my wishes and forced a kiss on me in front of them so that I couldn't run away?" Are you done listening to me? He grabbed her arm. Xia, I kept it from you because I knew you wouldn't agree to put on this show. Put on a show? She finally turned to face him. Yes, put on a show. Mika Kito tried to keep his expression calm. I just wanted the media to mistake us for a couple. Xia Dong blurted out, so, you used your status to pull me out of the mire? Attention Songshu 566. Chapter 87. Shinwu 799. Chapter 88. She picked up his favorite dish with her chopsticks and brought it to his mouth with a smile. Just as he opened his mouth, she suddenly retracted her chopsticks and put it in her own mouth. You naughty girl. He glared at her angrily. She giggled and beamed. Han, you're so stupid. I'm not stupid, you're too cunning. They teased each other and the office was filled with laughter. They didn't stop until Linda called Bailey Han to remind him that the meeting would start in half an hour. Faced with Bailey Han's apologetic gaze, Su Yunxian understood and smiled gently. Han, I'll leave you to work. I'll leave first. She walked to the door with the paper bag and suddenly turned back to look at his office chair. The once eye-catching pillow was no longer there. The corners of her lips curled up unconsciously. Bailey Han asked, What's wrong? She smiled. Nothing. You look the most handsome when you're working hard, so I want to take another look. Bailey Han pinched her cheek in amusement. I'll let you look as much as you want tonight. I wonder if Miss Su has time to have dinner with me and Xiao Yi. My pleasure. The smile on her lips grew brighter. She would prepare well for tonight's date and make it unforgettable. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Bailey Han went to Su Yunxian's house to pick her up. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Su Yunxian. She was wearing a sapphire blue low-cut backless evening gown. One side of her shoulder was bare and the other side was covered by a thin spaghetti strap that was made of many small pearls. Her hair was tied up high on her head, revealing her beautiful neck. She was so charming that she looked like a goddess who had walked out of a myth. He gently hugged her waist and kissed her cheek. Yunxian, you're very beautiful tonight. You're also extraordinarily handsome, my prince. He was wearing a silver-gray evening gown and his handsome and perfect facial features were dazzling under the light. Bailey Han smiled, his charming eyes curved as he took her arm. Your Highness, your prince will now take you to the castle where the banquet will be held. He rarely spoke sweet nothings and it was even harder for him to joke around. Su Yunxian widened her beautiful eyes in shock. He pursed his lips and smiled. What's wrong? She hugged his arm tightly. Han, do you know that you're surprisingly charming tonight? When they arrived at Bailey Han's villa, the servants respectfully waited at the entrance and greeted them politely. Bailey Han nodded and ordered, Butler, invite the young master downstairs. Yes, young master. Bailey Han held Su Yunxian's hand and walked into the dining room. At the entrance of the dining room, a violinist stood there politely, playing a melodious tune. The large crystal lamp in the dining room was turned off. Only two small wall lamps were lit. The long dining table was covered with a simple but elegant tablecloth. A pair of large candlesticks were placed in the middle of the table, and each candlestick had 3 red candles. A bouquet of red roses was placed between the candlesticks. A bottle of chilled red wine was placed beside the table. Su Yunxian didn't hide her surprise. Han, you're not only extraordinarily charming tonight, but also extraordinarily romantic. He smiled faintly and looked into her beautiful eyes. Do you like it? More than I like it. She wrapped her arms around his waist. I like you like this. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows and didn't say anything. Bailey Yi was wearing a white suit with a small bow tie. He walked down from upstairs and said coldly and politely, Daddy Auntie Yunxian, good evening. Xiao Yi, you're so handsome tonight, just like a little gentleman. Su Yunxian bent down and smiled as she touched his head. Auntie Yunxian, you're very beautiful tonight too. Bailey Yi's expression was indifferent. Xiao Yi, you're so obedient. Shall I carry you to the chair? No need to trouble you. I can sit on it myself. In order to match his height, Bailey Yi's chair was specially made. It was slightly shorter than a normal chair, but it still reached his waist. If it were a normal child, they would definitely climb up in a sorry state. However, he supported his hands on the chair and sat on it easily. His movements were elegant. When they were eating steak, Su Yunxian took the initiative to cut the steak for Bailey Yi. Bailey Yi said, thank you, and accepted her kindness. The two of them seemed to get along very well. Bailey Han saw this and felt very happy. He personally poured red wine into Su Yunshan's glass. She smiled and clinked glasses with him. Tonight's dinner, from the appetizer to the dessert, was according to her preferences. She could see that Bailey Han had put in a lot of effort, so naturally she was in a very good mood. After eating the fruit, Bailey said politely, "Daddy, Auntie Yunshan, I'll go upstairs first. Good night." Good night. Su Yunshan touched his head like a hostess and asked the nanny to take him upstairs. What are we going to do now? Su Yunshan asked as she nestled in Bailey Han's arms. Go for a drive by the beach? I don't think so. It's very windy by the beach. She hugged his neck and acted coquettishly. Let's go to your room and watch some DVDs together. Okay. Don't forget to bring the red wine. She dragged him out of the dining room and up the stairs. At the same time, a small figure secretly climbed onto the balcony outside Bailey Han's room from the balcony of the room next door. He took out a small beetle from his trouser pocket and stuck it on the large floor-to-ceiling window. From afar, it was just a small black dot left on the window glass. It was very easy to miss, especially at night when the light was not good. After doing all this, the small figure climbed over the balcony and returned to his room. He turned on the small laptop and adjusted the video. The computer screen immediately showed the situation in Bailey Han's bedroom. On the screen, Su Yunshan held Bailey Han's hand and entered the room. The little guy who was hiding under the quilt immediately revealed a proud smile. The plastic beetle was installed with a pinhole camera. He had already used this surveillance method to ruin many of the dates between that annoying woman and Daddy. Su Yunshan turned off the chandelier in the room, leaving only the wall lamp by the bedside. The two took off their shoes and leaned against each other on the soft and wide sofa. The CD player was playing a romance film. At the end of the movie, Su Yunshan lay on his chest and cried. He took a tissue and wiped her face. You're still the same as before. You cry like a little cat whenever you watch a romance film. Don't laugh at me. I'm going to take a shower in case you dislike me. She punched his chest and got up. She winked mischievously. I just wiped my tears all over you. Are you sure you don't need to go downstairs and take a shower? Bailey Han ruffled her hair in annoyance. Su Yunshan went into the bathroom. Bailey Han had a serious obsession with cleanliness. Of course he couldn't stand being dirty. He took a bathrobe and went downstairs, intending to use the bathroom downstairs to take a shower. Hearing the door close, Su Yunshan immediately walked out of the bathroom. Her clothes were still intact. It was obvious that she was waiting for Bailey Han to leave. She hurried to the sofa, found her handbag and took out a small bottle. She poured out a pill from the bottle and put it into the red wine. She shook it to make sure that the pill had completely melted before she went back to the bathroom with relief. Bailey jumped out of bed. That hateful woman actually drugged Daddy. How hateful. He clenched his small fists tightly and suddenly jumped out of bed. He ran downstairs and climbed onto a chair. Gritting his teeth, he struggled to take an identical bottle of red wine from the wine rack by the bar. He hugged it and sneaked upstairs. He poured out half of the red wine, leaving about the same amount. He rummaged through the cabinets and found a small medicine bottle. He poured out a pill and put it into the bottle. Holding the bottle, he couldn't climb over from the balcony. Even if he climbed over, he couldn't open the locked floor-to-ceiling windows from the inside. There was only one way left. Bailey stuck his head out and looked around. Very good, there was no one in the corridor. He quickly hugged the bottle and rushed to the door of the next room. He quickly pushed the door open and entered. Fortunately, Daddy didn't lock the door just now. He decisively and quickly changed the red wine. Just as he was about to leave with the bottle, Su Yunshan's voice suddenly came from the bathroom. Han, is that you? Bailey covered his mouth with his other chubby hand. He leaned against the wall and tiptoed to the door. He was already close, just one step away. Very good. He nimbly squeezed through the crack in the door. Just as he ran to the door of his room with the bottle in his arms, he heard Daddy's footsteps and his puzzled voice. Xiao Yi, what are you doing at the door? At this time, Bailey Yi's back was facing the stairs. He quickly stuffed the bottle into his room and kicked it. Then he calmly turned back and said, Daddy, I can't sleep. I want to drink milk. Why didn't you ask the servant to bring it up? Bailey Han just came up from the bathroom downstairs. He was wearing a bathrobe and his hair was still wet. Bailey looked embarrassed. I'm too full. I wanted to take a walk. Bailey Han patted his head. You're too full. That's why you can't sleep. Don't do this next time. Do you want Daddy to play with you for a while? Bailey sensibly said, No need. Daddy, you've been busy all day. You must be tired. Rest early. Good night, Daddy. Good night. Bailey Han watched his son close the door and go downstairs. Only then did he enter his room. Su Yunxian just came out of the bathroom. She was drying her wet hair with a towel. She wore a sexy nightgown. Her wet skin had a seductive luster. Bailey Han pressed a button and closed the curtains, blocking the moonlight outside and also blocking the beetle monitor. Bailey hid under the quilt and anxiously punched the bed. What he was worried about wouldn't happen, right? It couldn't be, right? Bailey Han's handsome features, tall and straight figure, and his bathrobe were slightly open. One could see his firm chest muscles and strong masculine charm. It was easy for women to lose control of themselves. Su Yunxian thought of the purpose of tonight. She smiled and poured 2 glasses of red wine, one for him and one for herself. Han, cheers to this beautiful night. Cheers? After drinking a glass of wine, Su Yunxian's face became more rosy, like peach blossoms in March, gorgeous and lovable. His soft wife leaned into his arms and said lazily, Han, did I drink too much? My head is dizzy. Bailey Han carried her to the bed and leaned against the pillow. Do you feel better? Yes, much better. She grabbed the nightgown in front of her chest and pouted. Han, I feel so hot. Do you feel hot? You're drunk. I think I'm a little drunk too. Maybe it's not the wine that makes me drunk, but I'm drunk. Bailey Han leaned against her and held his forehead with one hand. He was indeed a little dizzy. She leaned on his chest and skillfully drew circles on his chest with her small hand. Her soft voice was charming. Han, my heart is beating so fast. I'm so hot. Help me take off my clothes, okay? Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 89. Bailey Han looked at her misty eyes and knew that she was drunk. He grabbed her hand to prevent her from lighting the fire and said in a hoarse voice, If it's hot, I'll lower the air conditioner. He was about to get up to get the remote control when she hugged him. Her red lips pressed against his urgently. Her hands caressed his body and rubbed his sensitive spots. He thought of her compromise and remembered the intimate engagement photos of Xia Dong and Mika Kito. He suddenly turned over and pressed Su Yunxian under his body. He kept kissing her face and neck. The straps of her nightgown slid down. Han, I love you. Su Yunxian put her hands on his neck and the two of them were tightly pressed together. Bailey Han's consciousness began to fade. His lips were kissing her chest, but the next second he suddenly lay motionless on her chest. Han? Su Yunxian pushed him impatiently and confusedly, but he didn't move. Gradually she also lost consciousness. Bailey Han slept very soundly. He only woke up when the sunlight pierced his eyes. He turned over and touched a soft body. His eyes opened abruptly. Sure enough, there was a woman lying beside him. She was wearing a black spaghetti-strapped nightgown. Her long hair was draped over her shoulders, and her back was facing him. He rubbed his forehead. What happened last night gradually came to his mind. He and Su Yunxian had finished dinner and went upstairs. They drank a little wine and then got drunk. They hugged each other and fell on the bed. He pulled the quilt open and saw that they weren't wearing anything. His heart thumped wildly. They had done it many times but they didn't break through the last juncture. He didn't expect that he would really do it last night. He felt a little complicated and panicked. Yunxian. He hugged her back and turned her body around. He found that her eyes were filled with tears. Yunxian, last night Su Yunxian threw herself into his arms and stopped him from continuing. Han, I'm finally yours. Why do I feel a little sad? Bailey Han hugged her tightly. Yunxian, I admit that I was wrong. You are a pure and good girl. I hurt you. I will make it up to you. Don't be sad. She sobbed in his arms and shook her head. I don't know. I was willing to give myself to you. I should have been happy, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't say sorry. It's not your fault. It's all my fault. Yunxian, look at me. He held her shoulders and raised her head. His expression was so serious. He said word by word, Yunxian, I will take responsibility. I will marry you. When we return to the old mansion tomorrow night, I will mention the marriage to my family. Come back with me. She cried pitifully. Really? You won't abandon me? Silly girl, why would I abandon you? He stroked her long hair. You have already become my woman. I will definitely take responsibility. She smiled through her tears. Her beautiful face was like a pear blossom in the rain. She hugged his waist and pouted. Then from today onwards you belong to me. You are not allowed to leave me. You have to accompany me for the rest of my life. He hugged her. I won't leave you because you already belong to me. Then from today onwards will you not interact with other women? Bailey Han's hands tightened. He couldn't help but think of Xia Dong and how they had 2 one-night stands. But the next second he immediately thought of her deceit and betrayal. He promised without hesitation, of course. From now on I will only have eyes for you. Because no one is better than you. What if a woman takes the initiative to come to you? Then I won't even look at them. Women who take the initiative to come to me are too cheap. He said the last 3 words very forcefully, his eyes cold. Su Yunqian cried sadly again. Aren't I cheap as well? After last night, can I still say that I am innocent? We are different. We are engaged. It is reasonable and legal for us to do these things. He patted her back. Moreover, I was in the wrong last night. It has nothing to do with you. Bailey Han comforted her tenderly for a long time. She finally calmed down. Her eyes were red as she said softly, I want to take a bath. Can you do it yourself? Do you want me to carry you in? No need. I can go in by myself. She got off the bed. Her legs seemed to be a little unstable as she forced a smile. Bailey Han looked at her forced expression. He was afraid that she would fall, so he got off the bed as well. When he lifted the blanket, he saw a red blood stain on the white bed sheets. He felt even more guilty. He rushed forward to support her, but she gently pushed him away. She smiled weakly. I'm fine. I can do it myself. Bailey Han had no choice but to let go of her. Su Yunqian walked into the bathroom and turned on the hot water. Soon the rising steam blurred the mirror. She used her fingers to slowly wipe away the steam on the mirror. She smiled at herself in the mirror. That smile was so strange that it made one's hair stand on end. Her red lips slowly opened and she clearly spat out a few words. Su Yunqian, you succeeded. Although the situation last night was not what she had expected, the result was still good. Su Yunqian came out of the bathroom. Bailey Han was already dressed. She asked, Han, are you going out? Bailey Han looked a little unnatural. I'm going out to buy birth control pills. He didn't use any protection last night and he didn't want the servants to know, so he had to go out and buy it himself. Su Yunqian's face turned pale as if she had suffered a blow. Her body swayed and Bailey Han quickly reached out to support her. She looked at him in disbelief. You don't want me to give birth to your child? He was silent for a moment and said, Of course not. I'm just not ready yet. But you already said that you would marry me. Su Yunqian was a little emotional. She grabbed his wrist tightly. Are you just lying to me? Bailey Han's eyes darkened. He tried to control his emotions. I'm not lying to you. Even if we get married, there's no need to have a child so early. You think it's too early for me to have a child? Su Yunqian was very disappointed with his reaction. I'm already 28 years old. I'm not 18 years old. He closed his eyes and said calmly, Xiaoyi is still young. I want to wait until he's older to have a child. Su Yunqian was so angry that her body began to tremble, but she still controlled herself. She covered her face and cried. You don't love me at all. You only think about your son and have never thought about me. I'm not young anymore. If I don't have a child, I'll be an advanced pregnant woman in the future. It's very dangerous for an advanced pregnant woman, do you know that? She sobbed and said a lot. Bailey Han was confused and soft-hearted. He had already been very accommodating to her in the past. Now that she had become his woman, how could he let her suffer? Be good, don't cry. I won't buy it. Let nature take its course. If you have a child, we'll give birth to it, okay? Han, you're so nice. Su Yunqian hugged his neck and kissed him on the lips. Bailey Han wiped the tears on her cheeks and held her waist. Are you hungry? Let's go downstairs to eat. You're not going to the office today? I'm not going. I've already told Lu Zihao to cancel today's meeting and stay at home to accompany you. He held her hand and went downstairs. She hugged his arm and smiled embarrassedly. Han, I'm sorry. I take back what I said just now. You love me very much. I can feel it. It's good that you know. Bailey Han scratched her delicate nose with his hand. She leaned into his arms and smiled elegantly and sweetly. People's Hospital, Lin Shihao's office. Xia Dong went to the hospital for a gynecological examination behind everyone's back. Lin Shihao turned on the instrument and she waited anxiously for his verdict. Suddenly, he looked up and she trembled in shock. Shihao, how is it? Lin Shihao beamed. It's good news. Xia Dong, congratulations. You're pregnant. That's great, that's great. Xia Dong was so happy that she almost jumped up. She grabbed Lin Shihao's hand tightly and was so excited that she didn't know what to say. Her tears flowed uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I was too excited. She let go of his hand embarrassedly and wiped her eyes. It's okay. I understand. The child is still very weak. You have to control your emotions and pay attention to some taboos. What you should eat and what you shouldn't eat, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Lin Shihao rambled on for a long time. Xia Dong didn't feel annoyed at all and listened patiently. She even asked questions from time to time. The two of them chatted for about half an hour before someone knocked on the office door. It was Bai Meiwei. She glanced at Xia Dong and smiled. Xia Dong also nodded politely at her. Senior, I'm here to tell you that the surgery is ready. Lin Shihao nodded. Okay, I got it. I'll be right there. Xia Dong quickly stood up. Shihao, I'm sorry to have bothered you for so long. I'll take my leave first. I won't disturb your work anymore. Lin Shihao walked her to the door and reminded her, call me if there's anything. Remember to come back for a checkup in half a month. Xia Dong smiled gratefully. I got it. Thank you. Goodbye. Bai Meiwei glanced at Xia Dong's back as she left and asked curiously, Senior, what's wrong with her? Lin Shihao said in a businesslike manner, the doctor can't disclose the patient's matters. Bai Meiwei pouted. I'm your colleague in junior. You can't even disclose it to me? He smiled gently. This is the rule. I'm really sorry. He bent over to turn off the equipment and put the examination report into the drawer. Although his actions were very fast, Bai Meiwei could still vaguely make out a few words. She joked, Senior, you're really strict and impartial. Lin Shihao's handsome face revealed a helpless expression. Let's go. Aren't you going to have an operation? You're so boring. Bai Meiwei stuck out her tongue playfully. Xia Dong came out of the hospital in a good mood. Everything she saw was pleasing to the eye. Even the passers-by on the street became handsome men and beautiful women in her eyes. She took out her cell phone excitedly and was the first to report the good news to Yi Siki. Yezi, guess what good thing I've encountered? Did you pick up money? Geez, am I that vulgar? Give you another chance? Look at how pleased you are with yourself. Don't tell me you've met your Prince Charming? Xia Dong mocked her. Geez, Yezi, I don't expect you to be as good as me, but do you dare to be a little more ambitious? Yi Siki was pleased. I know you must be pregnant. This has become the focus of your entire life. How can I not guess? Awesome novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 90. Xia Dong snorted. You're such a bad guy. I'm pregnant. It's such a big thing, so we have to celebrate it. You have to treat me to a meal. Sure, no problem. We'll eat whatever you want. Pregnant women are the most important. Yi Siki was very forthright. Xia Dong smiled mischievously. I want to eat bird's nest, shark's fin, abalone, lobster. Yi Siki only said one word to her. Get lost. Did she think that a housewife like her was rich? Okay, I'm just joking with you. Do you still remember the courtyard where we lived when we were young? It's been converted into a food street. The last time I went there, I found a Sichuan restaurant called Mouth Fragrance. Why don't we go there? Sure, but you're pregnant. You can't eat spicy food. There are non-spicy dishes in Sichuan restaurants. By the way, I have to bring 2 children with me. You don't mind, do you? Yi Siki rolled her eyes. Miss, can I say that I mind? Those are your precious son and daughter. You can't leave them at home and go out to have fun alone, right? With a wave of your hand, it's approved. Thank you, Your Majesty. Go. After work, Xia Dong went to the kindergarten to pick up the children. She also greeted Mika Kito and said that she wanted to go on a date with Yi Siki. Mika Kito knew that she and Yi Siki had been best friends for many years, so of course she had no objections. She just asked her to come back early and be careful. After Mika Kito hung up Xia Dong's call, Jiang Dao called. Boss, there's news from England. They found the killer whale's hiding place, but what? Jiang Dao paused and said, what they found was a corpse. The killer whale was silenced. Mika Kito's eyes suddenly narrowed and emitted a dangerous glint. Her voice was cold. Continue to investigate. I want to know who the mastermind is. As long as they couldn't find out who the mastermind was, Xia's situation would be worrisome. They are already investigating all the people who have been in contact with the killer whale. All right, report to me as soon as you have any news. Xia Dong drove to the Gourmet Street. The Gourmet Street was a pedestrian street, so parking was not allowed. She could only park the car in the square more than 100 meters away from the Gourmet Street. Mommy, are we there yet? Xiao Guai curiously looked at the lively square. There were many vendors selling small toys and children running around with balloons. She was so envious. Not yet. Xia Dong carried her daughter out of the car. We still have a long way to go. Gigai, are you tired? I'm not tired. Xiao Guai shook her head like a rattle drum. She puffed up her rosy cheeks and pointed at the balloon stall not far away. Mommy, I want balloons. Let's go. Mommy will take you to buy some balloons. Baby, what are you doing in the car? Why haven't you come down yet? After talking for a long time, Xia Dong realized that her son had not gotten out of the car yet. I'm coming. Xia Xiaobao closed the small notebook, put it in the backpack he was carrying and jumped out of the car. Xia Dong rubbed her son's cheeks. Little rascal, you only know how to play games all day. I'm not playing games. He tilted his head and avoided her devil's hand. He raised his chin with an arrogant expression. Don't associate me with those little rascals who only know how to play games. I'm doing something serious. Oh, you still have something serious to do? Tell me, let me hear it. Mom, how can you understand the world of a genius child? I don't want to test your IQ by telling you. He raised his little chin and skipped forward. He was not going to tell her that he was competing with Bailey E and was preparing for the garden party. After being shocked by her son, Xia Dong was exasperated. She roared, Xia Xiaobao. Mommy, don't be angry. Her daughter hugged her neck and whispered in her ear, Mommy, I know what brother is busy with. The garden party is coming soon. The teacher asked brother and brother E to prepare for the program, so brother is troubled. Her precious daughter was so considerate. Xia Dong kissed her daughter's cheek. What are you troubled about? Brother doesn't know what program to prepare. Mommy, do you have any good ideas? Xia Dong looked at the little rascal's big bright eyes and pinched her nose in amusement. Little rascal, this is your motive, right? The little rascal giggled. Mommy is the best. Let Mommy think about it first. I'll tell you when I think of something, okay? Okay. Xia Dong bought a balloon for each of the two little rascals. Her daughter laughed happily. Her son thought that the balloons were too childish and was unwilling to hold them, so her daughter volunteered to hold a big wolf and a pleasant goat. Isiki arrived first. She held Nyo-Nyo's hand and stood at the entrance of the food street. When she saw Xia Dong appear with the two little rascals, she immediately cheered and pounced on them. She rubbed one's bun face and pinched the other's little nose. Mommy? Xiao Guai's eyes were filled with tears. Why did Auntie Siki rub her face every time she saw her? Xiao Bao pulled a long face. Women who liked to rub their faces were the most annoying. Alright Yezi, you're scaring my babies. Xia Dong wiped her sweat. This guy was too enthusiastic. The two children were snatched away by Yi Siki, and Xia Dong also snatched her daughter away. She held Nyo-Nyo's hand and said, Nyo-Nyo, let's go. Ignore your mommy. They chatted and laughed as they found Mouth Restaurant. As they had made an appointment in advance, they quickly found a seat. The owner of Mouth Restaurant was very good at doing business. The restaurant was decorated in an antique style, and there was a small courtyard behind it. It was quiet and elegant. After they ordered, the children rushed to the small courtyard. There was a small pond with many goldfish in it. They leaned over the pond and watched the goldfish. Isiki raised her voice and shouted, Nyo-Nyo, take care of your brothers and sisters. Don't play in the water. Okay, Mommy. Xia Dong and the others sat in the hall and chatted. From time to time they would turn to look at the children. Suddenly they heard a child crying and immediately turned to look. They saw Xiao Guai sitting on the ground, holding her arm and crying. Xia Dong was shocked and rushed out like a cannonball. Gigai, what's wrong? Where are you hurt? Mommy, my hand hurts. Her fair little hand pressed tightly on her arm, and blood seeped out between her fingers. Xia Dong's heart suddenly tightened. She hurriedly held her arm and said, Gigai, take your hand away. Let Mommy have a look. As soon as Xiao Guai released her hand, blood flowed out of the wound like water. The wound was about 5 centimeters long. Xia Dong was distressed and anxious when she saw it. Yi Siki was also anxious. Xia, hurry and send Xiao Guai to the hospital. You go first. I'll take care of Xiao Bao. Xia Dong said, okay. She took out a clean handkerchief from her daughter's backpack and bandaged her arm. Then she carried her daughter and rushed out of the restaurant. When Xia Dong rushed out of the door, Yi Siki remembered that she was pregnant and was not in the right condition for strenuous exercise. She shouted at her back, Xia, wait. However, she ran very fast and the streets were very noisy. She did not hear Yisiki at all. Yisiki wanted to chase after her, but she had to take care of the two children and couldn't leave. She could only take out her cell phone and call her mother. However, no one picked up after a long time. Xiaodong was probably too anxious to pick up the phone. Xiaobao observed her expression and realized that something was wrong. "Auntie Siki, do you have something to tell my mommy?" Yisiki held the phone and stomped her feet anxiously. "Yes, I want your mommy to not run so fast. She's not in good health. She can't do strenuous exercise." Xiaobao pursed her lips, her little face full of determination. "Auntie Siki, I'll take care of Sister Nyonyo. You go find my mommy." "Can you do it?" "Yes, Auntie Siki. We'll wait for you at Sweet Mouth." Xiaobao's eyes were shining like a little adult. Even as an adult, Yisiki felt that the aura she exuded was extraordinary. She couldn't help but believe his words. She quickly ran to the lobby and greeted the boss, asking him to take care of the two children. The boss was very good and nodded repeatedly, promising that he would take care of the children. Yisiki was in a hurry, so she didn't say much. She ran as fast as she did in school and gritted her teeth as she chased after them. Xiaodong ran with her daughter in her arms and kept shouting, "Sorry, please make way, please make way." As she ran, she looked at her daughter in her arms. The wound on her arm was still bleeding, and the blood had already stained the white handkerchief. She sobbed and comforted her daughter, "Gigai, don't be afraid. Mommy will take you to the hospital immediately." Because of her nervousness and fear, she had forgotten about the child in her belly and couldn't wait to get to the hospital as fast as she could. However, there were many people on the food street. She squeezed left and right and bumped into many people, but she didn't run far. She gritted her teeth and rushed forward anxiously. Suddenly, her arm was grabbed tightly by someone. A man stood in front of her and blocked her way. "Xia, I finally found you. Tell Daddy, where is your mother's grave? I want to see her." Xia Jinxing was very excited. This was the first time he had returned to the place where they used to live. He didn't expect it to have changed so much. He also didn't expect to meet his daughter. "Go away, I don't have time to chat with you." Xiaodong struggled in disgust. Xia Jinxing said painfully, Xia, I know you don't want to see me, but your mother? I just want to know where she's buried. Please tell me, okay?" Xiaodong was anxious and angry. "Xia Jinxing, I'm telling you, my mother doesn't want to see you for the rest of her life. She didn't want to see you when she was alive, and she definitely doesn't want to see you now. Get out of my way." Xia Jinxing's heart ached when his own daughter said get out, but he was thick-skinned and grabbed her arm. Xia, take it that Daddy is begging you." Xiaodong looked at her daughter's pale face in her arms. Her eyes were red and she lost all reason as she yelled, "Xia Jinxing, it's not enough that you killed my mother. Do you want to kill my daughter too? My daughter needs to see a doctor urgently. Get out of my way." Xia Jinxing looked at Xiaodong's arms in disbelief. Only then did he notice that the little girl in her arms was pale and her arm was bloody. Blood was still seeping out. He immediately panicked and stammered, "I'm sorry, Xia. I didn't know. Let me help you. Go away, I don't want your fake kindness." Xiaodong glared at him fiercely and pushed him away. Just as she was about to walk forward, Yisiki's panting voice came from behind. "Xia, wait." Xiaodong had no choice but to stop and wait for Yisiki anxiously. Xia Jinxing asked hesitantly, Xia, is this child your daughter? Didn't you say last time that she's your niece? Is the news true? You're engaged to Mika Kito? Is the child his?" Awesome novel Xingwu 799. Chapter 91. Xiaodong was so annoyed by his series of questions that she was about to explode. She yelled at him, "Xia Jinxing, are you done? What right do you have to meddle in my affairs?" Xia Jinxing's body stiffened and his expression was pained. He seemed to have aged a little and the wrinkles on his face were clearer. Xia, I finally caught up with you." Yisiki ran over, panting heavily. In a moment of panic, she didn't notice that Xia Jinxing was beside her. She said directly, Xia, did you forget that you're pregnant and can't do strenuous exercise? Give Xiao Guai to me. I'll carry her." Xia Jinxing was even more shocked. He looked at Xiaodong's stomach and wanted to say something, but in the end he held back. Xiaodong just remembered that she was pregnant. She was scared, but she didn't argue. She handed Xiao Guai to Yisiki and the two of them walked forward without looking at Xia Jinxing. Xia Jinxing was in pain. He thought about it and followed them. Although his daughter hated him, his granddaughter was injured. He still wanted to know how serious her injury was and see her receive treatment with his own eyes. Yezi, what will happen to Xiao Bao and Nyonyo if you leave? Don't worry, I've already told the restaurant owner. You will take care of Xiao Bao and Nyonyo. I'll come back to pick them up after I send you to the hospital. Okay, then I'm relieved. I'll go get the car first. When you reach the entrance of the gourmet street, wait for me there. At this speed, they still had to walk out of the gourmet street. Okay, go quickly. Don't worry, take care of the child in your stomach. Xia Dong nodded and comforted her daughter. She walked out first before Yisiki. Without the weight of the child in her arms, her pace was much faster. It only took 5 or 6 minutes to reach the square. Xia Dong drove the car to the entrance of the gourmet street. Yisiki was already waiting for her there. Behind her stood Xia Jinxing. Xia Dong treated him like air. When Yisiki got into the car, she did not even look at him and drove away. Xia Jinxing ran over, stopped a taxi and followed behind them. Yisiki checked Xiao Guai's wound and said, "That's your father, right? Just now he asked me if you've been well all these years. I told him that you don't have to worry. Without you as a father, she's still doing very well." Xia Dong held back her tears and said, "Yezi, thank you. You answered very well." Yisiki looked at her sympathetically. Xia, don't be sad. You still have many people who love you." Xia Dong bit her lips stubbornly. "I'm not sad. I'm not sad at all. I just feel that it's not worth it for my mother." She tried hard to hold back her tears. She glanced sideways at Xiao Guai, who was lying in Yisiki's arms. Her heart ached as she said, "Gigai still has a clean handkerchief in her backpack. Yezi, help her wrap it around her wound." Okay. Yisiki did as she said. He wrapped the handkerchief around Xiao Guai's wound, which was still bleeding, and asked, "How long until we reach the hospital?" According to the GPS, they were still 1 kilometer away from the nearest hospital. Xia Dong held the steering wheel with both hands and couldn't stop trembling. They finally arrived at the hospital. The doctors and nurses took Xiao Guai from Yisiki's arms and went straight to the emergency room. Xia Dong stood at the door of the emergency room, waiting anxiously. Yisiki pulled her to sit on a chair in the corridor. Xia, I'll go back to the restaurant first and bring the children here. Don't be too anxious." Okay. Thank you for your hard work. Yisiki patted her arm, glanced in the direction of the emergency room and turned to leave. He hadn't taken 2 steps when he saw Xia Jinxing, who was waiting not too far away. He asked anxiously, "Miss Yi, my granddaughter? How is she?" Yisiki snorted contemptuously, ignored him and walked right past him. Xia Dong waited anxiously. Scary thoughts kept popping up in her mind. Every minute felt like a year. Just then her phone rang. She was so shocked that she trembled. She glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was Mika Kito. She bit her lip and didn't know what to say to him. Her phone kept ringing. She finally answered the call. "Brother Shin. Xia, are you guys done eating? Do you want me to pick you up?" Xia Dong's voice was a little dry. "Brother Shin, I'm at the hospital." "What happened?" The sound of something being knocked to the ground and Mika Kito's anxious voice could be heard over the phone. Xia Dong choked with sobs. "Xiao Guai. Xiao Guai is injured." Xia, don't worry. Tell me which hospital you're at. I'll come over right away." Xia Dong told him the name of the hospital. The person on the other end comforted her for a while and immediately hung up. The lights in the emergency room were still on. Xia Dong was so scared that her whole body trembled. She didn't know how long she had been in fear. Suddenly there were hurried footsteps in the corridor. Yisiki had rushed over with the children. Xiao Bao silently threw himself into her arms and gently patted her waist, comforting her silently. Xia Dong stroked his head. "Baby, mommy is fine. Are you hungry? Let's go eat something with Auntie Siki, okay?" Xiao Bao hugged her and said in a muffled voice, "It's okay, Mom. I'm not hungry. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of Gigai. That's why she got injured." According to him, Xiao Guai had knocked into a big tree by the pool and her arm was cut by a branch. At that time, Nyonyo was standing closest to Xiao Guai. When she saw Xiao Guai injured and bleeding, she was scared silly. Now that she had recovered, she burst into tears. Yisiki quickly hugged her precious daughter and coaxed her. "Nyonyo, don't cry. Don't cry. Mommy Gigai fell. I wanted to hold her but I couldn't. She's bleeding a lot." "Silly girl, we're not blaming you. Don't cry." Xia Jinxing watched from afar. He wanted to go forward but he restrained himself. At this moment, Mika Kito also rushed over. He wasn't wearing a suit jacket, and the top 2 buttons of his white shirt were unbuttoned. His hair was a little messy, his breathing was heavy, and his expression was grave. Xia Hao Xiao Guai. She's still in the emergency room. When Xia Dong saw him, it was as if she had found her backbone. Her trembling body finally calmed down. Don't be afraid. I'm here. With a glance, Beitang Xin saw that her clothes were stained with blood. His eyes suddenly tightened as he sat beside her and patted her shoulder to comfort her. Suddenly, the emergency room door opened and the doctor walked out. "Doctor, how's my daughter?" Xia Dong rushed over anxiously. Mika Kito hurried over and stood beside Xia Dong. Yi Siki and the two children also hurried over. The doctor's gaze went back and forth between Xia Dong and Mika Kito. He said unhappily, "You parents are too careless. How could you let your child run around and get injured when she has such an illness? She's lucky to have survived this time. She won't be so lucky next time." "Doctor, thank you. Thank you." Xia Dong cried. Mika Kito hugged her shoulders tightly and asked, "Doctor, can we go in and see the patient now?" "You can go in after disinfecting the patient to prevent infection." Nurse Lu helped the patient's family get ready. Aplastic anemia had a high probability of causing complications, so they had to take precautions. "Okay. Thank you, doctor." After the doctor left, Xia Dong and the others followed Nurse Lu to disinfect the patient. Xia Jinxing gritted his teeth and followed them. Mika Kito glanced at Xia Jinxing. Xia, who is this?" Xia Dong looked at Xia Jinxing coldly as if she was looking at a stranger. "His name is Xia Jinxing." Mika Kito didn't quite understand. Yi Siki coughed and explained, "He's Xia's father. However, he abandoned her when she was very young." Xia Jinxing's old face flushed red. Xia Dong said coldly, "Xia Jinxing, you're not welcome here. Please leave." Mika Kito hugged her shoulders and tried to persuade her. Xia, don't be like this. Your father is just worried about Xiao Guai. He's not my father." Xia Dong coldly pushed Mika Kito's hand away. Mika Kito looked at her heartless expression and knew that she couldn't persuade her. If she forced her, she would only annoy her, so she said, "Mr. Xia, Xiao Guai is fine now. Please leave." Xia Jinxing looked sadly at his daughter, who deliberately turned her head away and didn't want to look at him. He nodded bitterly. "You must be Mr. Beitang. Please take good care of Xia. She has a bad temper, but she's very kind. Please make her happy." "I will," Mika Kito said solemnly. Xia Jinxing left with a belly full of pain. His once imposing figure now looked so weary, but Xia Dong didn't want to sympathize with him at all. Let's go in." After disinfecting, they changed into special clothes and walked into Xiao Guai's ward. Xiao Guai lay quietly among a pile of instruments and tubes. Her pale and haggard face was so small that it made one's heart ache. Even in her sleep, her little brows were still furrowed. Xia Dong stroked her forehead with heartache. Mika Kito helped her sit down and said softly, Xia, are you hiding something from me?" He clearly remembered that the doctor had said that, the child has this illness. What illness did Xiao Guai have that was so serious that she needed to be isolated in the ward? Yi Siki knew that they had something to talk about, so she asked the children to leave with her. It was getting late. She was worried about Lin Shihao, so she called him. When she found out that he was still working overtime at the hospital, she briefly explained her situation. Lin Shihao asked her to stay in the hospital and said that he would come to pick them up later. In the ward, Xia Dong looked down to hide the sadness in her eyes. She said, "Brother Shin, I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just didn't want you to worry." Mika Kito held her shoulders and forced her to look up at him. "You think I won't worry when you're like this? Tell me, what are you hiding from me?" Xia Dong knew that she couldn't hide it anymore, so she said slowly, "Brother Shin, do you remember when I took the children for a physical examination in Japan? Something came up at the last minute and you didn't come with us to the hospital?" Mika Kito nodded. "When we came back from the hospital, you said that the children were very healthy." She smiled bitterly. "Actually, that's not the case. Xiao Guai was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is a type of bone marrow hematopoietic failure. The main symptoms are low bone marrow hematopoietic function, pancytopenia, anemia, bleeding, and infection. Xiao Guai's condition is considered severe. At that time, the doctor said that Xiao Guai still had 1 year left. Now she should only have 10 months and 4 days left." Mika Kito's body trembled as he looked at the little girl lying on the bed in shock. He couldn't believe that the little cutie who had been acting coquettishly in his arms this morning had contracted such a terrible illness. He muttered, "But she looks normal. Come and see." Songshu 566. Chapter 92. Her skin is abnormally white and she gets fevers easily. She bleeds profusely when her skin breaks. She can't run fast because she gets heart palpitations, dizziness and fatigue. I put the medicine in the vitamin bottle and lied to her that it's vitamins. She'll grow taller quickly after taking it. Every time I take her to the hospital for a checkup, I lie to her that we're going to the hospital to play games, and the equipment there is for playing games. Every time I go to work, I'm scared that something will happen to her. Xia Dong covered her face as she recounted in pain. Mika Kito suddenly hugged her tightly in his arms. You silly girl, why didn't you tell me that you've shouldered so much on your own? Because I was scared. I didn't want you to worry. Brother Shin, I'm so scared. I'm scared that I won't be able to save Gigai in time. She's my life. I have to save her at all costs. Xia Dong sobbed in his arms. We'll find a way. There's only one way. She lifted her head from his arms, her face full of tears. That is to have a child related to her and use the child's naval blood to save her. Mika Kito froze. Something flashed through his mind. So you and Bailey Han? Yes, that's the reason? Xia Dong wiped away the tears on her face and smiled strangely. Brother Shin, I've succeeded. I'm pregnant. As if struck by lightning, Mika Kito's face instantly lost all color. His body stiffened and he didn't move. Her eyes were filled with passion. I can finally save Gigai. Mika Kito grabbed her wrist and felt a chill run down his spine. He shouldn't be so calculative. He loved her and the children. He knew that she had no choice, so why should he be so calculative? However, his heart was throbbing with pain. It was so painful that he had difficulty breathing. This woman was a little silly. She pretended to be strong and always hid her sadness with a smile. How could such thin shoulders bear such a heavy burden? He hugged her tightly and said word by word, when the child is born, I'll treat him as my own flesh and blood. I won't mistreat him. Xia Dong lay in his arms and cried even louder. In the hospital, there was a sad atmosphere, but in the old mansion in Bailey, there was a joyous atmosphere. During dinner, Bailey Han announced his plans. He was going to marry Su Yunqian. The specific date would be decided after the two families discussed it. Except for Bailey E, everyone was supportive, especially the old lady of Bailey. She was so happy that she kept cheering, Your love marathon has finally come to an end. We're all happy for you. Your grandfather is also very happy. As she spoke, Madame Gu patted the back of old Bailey's hand. Old man, Ahan is going to marry a wife. Are you happy? There was a hint of confusion in old master's eyes, but when he saw old madam smiling so happily, he also chuckled and nodded. I'm happy. Bailey Yun raised his wine glass and smiled meaningfully. Brother Yunqian, congratulations. Thank you. Bailey Han and Su Yunqian also raised their wine glasses and smiled at each other. Bailey was very unhappy. His little face was tense and his two little fists were tightly clenched. He looked down at the plate in front of him and turned a deaf ear to the voices around him. He had replaced the aphrodisiac in the wine bottle with sleeping pills. How did they still have sex? No, he couldn't let this woman be his mommy. He had to find a way to destroy it. It was almost 10 o'clock when Xia Jinxing returned home. The living room was empty and dark. No one had left the lights on for him. The bedroom light was still on. His wife was still awake, but at this moment he didn't want to see her. He dragged his feet and went to his study. He took out the photos of his ex-wife and daughter from the secret drawer and couldn't help but cry. His fingers trembled as he stroked his ex-wife's face. The guilt in his heart wrapped tightly around him like a tide. His daughter in the photo had an innocent Wuyu smile on her tender cheeks. He whispered with tears in his eyes, Xia, Daddy really deserves to die. I've let you and your mother down. There was a soft knock on the door. Xia Jinxing hurriedly wiped the tears from his face and pressed the photo under a thick book. He cleared his throat and said, Come in. Su Xingqian was holding a small white bowl in her hand. She pushed the door open and entered. Daddy, I'm here to deliver supper. Xia Jinxing forced a smile. Oh, it's Xingqian. It's so late. Why aren't you asleep? Su Xingqian placed the small bowl in front of him and pouted. Daddy, how can your daughter sleep when you're not home? What were you busy with today? Why did you come back so late? Mommy was very worried about you. I was guiding a student in the art studio. I wasn't paying attention and missed the time. It's all Daddy's fault. I've made you guys worry. Oh, I see. Daddy, I'm going back to my room. You should rest early too. Su Xingqian noticed that his eyes were red as soon as she entered the room. It was obvious that he had cried. She knew that he was hiding something from her. Her sharp eyes swept across the desk and saw a corner of the yellowed photo peeking out from under the book. The two photos that Xia Jinxing had secretly kept flashed through her mind. He was so sad and came back so late. Could it have something to do with Xia Dong? Su Xingchen had doubts in her heart. She became more vigilant and began to pay attention to his every move. Hospital VIP ward. At around 10 p.m. last night, Lin Shihao came to pick up Yisiki and Nyonyo. Mika Kito asked Jiang Dao to send Xiao Bao home while she accompanied Xia Dong to stay by Xiao Guai's side for the whole night. Mommy? Xia Dong dreamt that her daughter was calling her even in her dreams. She suddenly woke up and found herself in Mika Kito's arms. The two of them were hugging each other as they lay on the hospital bed. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? Mika Kito had long woken up. She touched her daughter's head. Her eyes were filled with panic, and her forehead was covered in sweat. Xia Dong nodded. She didn't want to say that she dreamt that Xiao Guai was seriously ill. Her soft hair had all fallen out. She got up from Mika Kito's arms and got off the bed. She looked at her daughter through the glass window. She was still unconscious. Her small cheeks were pale and bloodless. Don't worry. The doctor just checked and said that Gigai's condition has stabilized. She will wake up today. Mika Kito walked to her side and comforted her gently. If you're still worried, you can quit your job and take care of her. I can still take care of the three of you. Xia Dong relaxed a little when she heard that Xiao Guai was fine. She smiled. You're a rich bachelor. Of course you can take care of the three of us. But I don't want to be like a vine that depends on a tree. I'll take leave today and stay in the hospital to take care of Xiao Guai. Brother Shin, you should go to the office quickly. Mika Kito ruffled her hair. I won't go to the office today. I'll stay here with you. You said that Xiao Guai is fine. It's enough that I'm here. What can a man like you do here? Gigai should go to the office to earn money so that you can take care of us. Xia Dong pushed his body towards the elevator. Mika Kito couldn't do anything about it. Okay, I'll go to the office first. Call me if you need anything. Got it? Go go. Xia Dong smiled and waved her hand. After sending Mika Kito off, Xia Dong tidied herself up and called Xiao Bao. She learned that Jiang Dao had sent him to kindergarten and told him about Xiao Guai's condition so that he could rest assured. Xia Dong then called Yisiki to tell her that she was safe. She asked her to keep Xiao Guai's illness a secret and not let her aunt know about it. She didn't want her aunt to worry. Yisiki agreed and even said that she would make some delicious food for lunch and send it over to the mother and daughter. Xia Dong disinfected the water and entered her daughter's ward. She held her daughter's hand and softly told her fairy tales. She told her about Snow White and Cinderella. When she was talking about Sleeping Beauty, her daughter's long eyelashes suddenly fluttered. Xia Dong excitedly called out, Gigai. Xiao Guai slowly opened her eyes and called out softly, Mommy? Xia Dong's nose twitched and she almost cried. She gently hugged her daughter. You naughty girl. You almost scared Mommy to death. Xiao Guai hugged her neck with her chubby little arms and said softly, Mommy, I'm sorry. I made you worry. It's okay, it's okay. Our Xiao Guai is the most obedient. Xia Dong wiped the corners of her eyes and asked with concern, Gigai, are you feeling unwell anywhere? Xiao Guai's big eyes blinked. Mommy, I want to drink water. Okay, Mommy will get you some water. Xia Dong poured a cup of water into a paper cup and then took an empty paper cup. She poured the water in turns to make it easier to lower the temperature. When the water was just right, she fed her daughter. Xiao Guai drank the water and lay quietly on the bed. Xia Dong touched her cheek and said softly, Gigai, Mommy will call the doctor over. I'll be back soon. Xiao Guai nodded obediently. The doctor came over and gave Xiao Guai a full body examination. After confirming that her condition had stabilized, he invited Xia Dong to the office and said, Miss Xia, the patient's condition has stabilized, but I suggest that she stay in the hospital for a few more days. How many days will it take? 5 days. If you're busy with work and don't have time to take care of the patient, our hospital can provide caregivers. The caregivers are all professionally trained and will take good care of your daughter. Thank you. I do need a caregiver to take care of my daughter. After arranging the caregivers, she asked, Doctor, based on my daughter's current condition, how long can she last? A few months at most. She must have surgery as soon as possible. Xia Dong clenched her hands nervously. Doctor, can my daughter last for 10 months? The doctor frowned. It's going to be difficult. Even if she survives through chemotherapy until then, her physical condition will be very bad. The success rate of the surgery is relatively small. Xiaodong's eyes were full of anticipation and anxiety. It's relatively small, but it's not hopeless, right? In theory, yes. After walking out of the doctor's office, Xiaodong did not return to the ward directly. Instead, she sat on the bench in the corridor. She covered her face helplessly. She was so worried and scared, but she was a mother. If even she was not brave, what would happen to her child? She only gave herself 2 minutes to complain. 2 minutes later, she stood up energetically and pushed open the door of the ward with a smile. Gigai? Her voice stopped abruptly because she saw someone she did not want to see. That person was sitting by Xiao Guai's bed, holding toys to make her happy. Mommy, Grandpa bought me a lot of toys. Mommy? Xiao Guai suddenly closed her mouth because she realized that her mommy's expression was very ugly. Xia. Xia Jinxing stood up uneasily. Don't be angry. I just came to see the child. I'll leave right away. Awesome novel Hongcha 866, that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.